Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the podcast, another episode of Caffeine and Green with your man, Connor Cardenas. Before we get into it today, like normal, I just want to make sure that you guys head on over to www.caffeineandgreenroasting.com today to pick up any of the amazing coffees that we have on sale, which, of course, I'm talking about that Issa blend, which is dark, chocolatey, and bold. I'm also talking about that single origin Colombia coffee, which is the Morning Sesh, which is a collaboration with a Shieldless skateboard magazine. Personally, one of my favorites. And lastly, we have just a little bit left of that victory lap for our sponsored fighter, Leov Clockley. It's a single origin Tanzania. It's a little bit of our lighter roast, but it's super amazing. And I hope you guys want to go over and try it today. You can also pick up any of the merch or our coffee cups on the website. So head on over to www.caffeineandgreenroasting.com today. Also, if you guys haven't already, head on over to Steel Mill Coffee in Oceanside, California. That's right. If you head in today, you'll be able to see any of the homies, Anna, Giles, Lil C, myself, Riley, or Shay. That's right. Head on over. You can get any of our amazing drinks. I can pull you a shot, whatever you want, and I know everybody would be super stoked to see you. So if you're ever in Oceanside, California, which is North County, San Diego, come on in today. Steel Mill Coffee, Oceanside, California. All right. My guest today is a brand new guest to the podcast and a homie that this has been in the mix, in the works for a hot minute. Of course, I'm talking about my homie, William Remsbottom. That's right. He's the owner of Scrimshaw Coffee, which is in between like City Heights and La Mesa. I forgot the name of the city that he was saying it was exactly in. But he owns a cafe. He's a young gentleman who is not even 30 yet. He signed his first lease at 24. He has a successful cafe for the last 5.5 years. And he also just started his own roasting company called Field Trip Coffee Roasters. I was blown away by this conversation, guys. I'm not going to lie. It was such a pleasant surprise, and I enjoyed every single minute of it. He is about the hustle. He's about the grind, and he's about just learning and continuing to evolve. So, without further ado, William Remsbottom. This your time to shine, homie. Let's go. Give me caffeine and green. It's your boy Connor. What's good? Good. Caffeine and green. And we are live.
Sick.
Yes, William Remsbottom from Scrimshaw Coffee.
That's me.
Welcome to Caffeine and Green, sir.
Dude, I'm stoked. We've been trying to do this for a minute. So
dude, it actually, it's been like a couple months in the works.
Yeah. Well, because we were going to do it a while ago, and that was pre-field trip, like before we really launched. I didn't really want to do it until we did launch, and then we were reopening.
Yes, you launched your own roasting company now.
Yes, sir. So we started roasting as kind of a pivot to the pandemic for Scrimshaw.
Wait, so for people who before we get ahead, because we're getting right into it, which is dope. I love that. Yeah. But before, for people who don't know you,
yes,
you own Scrimshaw Coffee, which is a cafe in La Mesa. No, not La Mesa.
It's technically the college area, which is a very vague area of San Diego. But we're in a little neighborhood within that called El Cerrito. So it's kind of on the border. It's kind of on the border of City Heights and La Mesa, kind of in between. We're in this really cool little pocket. We're pretty densely populated, but a proper neighborhood when you like drive behind the shop.
Okay.
So we opened in 2017, and as a cafe and kind of multi-roaster, we've served a bunch of people from, the homies at Coffee and Tea Collective to Madcap from Michigan. And
you would buy coffee from other roasters and showcase them? Yeah,
pretty much quarterly we rotated through different roasters. So we had Brandywine for a while, Cirque from Tulsa, Stovetop Coffee, Madcap, Reanimator, a whole bunch of roasters from all over the country.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a cool little program. People, like Asa, our mutual friend, would literally come out to buy a bag of something that we had, and it was rad.
Dude, that's gnarly.
But the margin's better on your own roasted coffee.
Of course. You don't have to pay the shipping.
There's a lot.
Damn, that's why. Okay, well, just to get into that, why did you do that? Was there a purpose behind rotating quarterly with different roasters from different states across the country?
Yeah, so when we opened, we were only serving Dark Horse, and we always had the intention of being a multi-roaster. So Dark Horse are homies as well. They helped us out a lot with build out, and I've known Daniel since probably the week that Dark Horse Adams opened, and so So we were serving Dark Horse, and then I think it was more so just like, we were serving a local coffee roaster, which is cool, but we really wanted to highlight some roasters from around the country. There's cool coffee coming from all over the world, right? And everyone's got their own thing. And some of the heavy hitters we featured, like Madcap or Cirque. Just really wanted to taste kind of how other people were roasting, and the brands and the connections you make, the friends you make, like all of that is super cool. I still check in with some of those guys, and they'll, if they ever come out to California, they'll come by, and so like that's pretty rad.
Nice.
And so we did that probably quarterly, and it was really fun. Really, really cool to just taste coffee from around the country.
Did you? I mean, obviously, it probably influenced your palate a little bit, but when you went into making your own roasting company, did you have like a mix mash of like, oh, I like a little bit of Cirque, or I like a little bit of Dark Horse, I like a little bit of this, and kind of make it into your own mishmash?
Yeah, you could say that for sure. And I'm still finding that, we always are learning, I think, as roasters, right? Like continually learning. And so we've only been doing it a year, so I'm still figuring out a lot, but I think I know what I want, and we're definitely getting there. But yeah, I think yes and no, I guess, is to answer the question. Yeah.
Do you so you were open in 2017, you said, right?
Open in 2017.
So, and then you're going right along, you're well into your 2 years at the beginning of 3 years, because 2020 would have been at the beginning of 3 years. Yeah.
So we opened in August, so kind of the end of 2017. Or the third quarter of 2017.
Okay, so like 2.5 years.
Yeah. Pretty much 2.5 years, and then the pandemic hit. But I had opened with a business partner, and he stepped away pretty quickly, and so we had to work out that whole thing.
Hectic.
Within like 6 months. Yep. And then I got married, so there was planning a wedding and all that. And that was that was the middle of 2019, and we actually had pushed back the wedding once. So yeah, opened the shop, partner stepped away, got married, and that was pretty much all wrapped up finally by the end of 2019. And then March 2020 it hit.
Now it's March 2020, March 13th specifically. I remember the day. What's going through your head? Are you like, fuck, or like?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of that. And I remember like the days leading up to it, where everyone was really kind of like, oh, what's this going to be? We had an art show scheduled with Coffee and Tea, and it was a ex-employee that was going to do the art show. It was kind of a collab event. And we were like, do we want to do it? Do we not? And, there were mixed opinions. I was like, you know what? I just don't want to do it. We were hosting it at the shop, and I was like, I'm not going to host it. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of our employees at the time were probably like, okay, you're overreacting a little bit. It's going to be fine, whatever. And I was like, okay, whatever. That might be the truth. I might be overreacting, but like I would rather be cautious right now.
Of course.
It's liability's sake. And so we canceled that, and then they were like, it's going to be fine. It's just a flu. Like, people are freaking out. And then we have a couple really good friends kind of the shop that are nurses. And they're like, yeah, this is gonna be bad. So I was just, so at that moment I was like, oh fuck, this is gonna be bad.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to curse on?
Please. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah. No, I just said fuck.
I didn't really realize. I was freaking out a bit, and then we went to kind of an only online ordering, no cash. We already had online ordering set up through our point of sale system, and so we were kind of like primed, ready to go. Where I think a lot of cafes, especially, were like freaking out, like, how do I get online right now? Mm-hmm, like a lot of the Square users, right? Like, oh crap. So we basically shut it down. Was it a Monday or Tuesday? I don't remember. Maybe a Wednesday.
My last day before I think I went down, it was like a Friday. I had Saturday, the owner of Seven Seas called me and says, we're going to close on Monday.
Yeah.
And then it was like, we're going to be open Monday, but at the end of Monday, we're going to be closed. And then by Sunday, it was like, we're not opening anymore.
Yeah.
So it was like Friday, the day before was March 3rd, 12, 11. So 10th, March 10th was my last day of work. And then March 13th, the world shut down.
Yeah. So that was, the 13th was Wednesday then, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah. So anyways, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. Tuesday, we called like an emergency meeting with the shop, and I was like out of the shop. I couldn't sleep for the previous like 2 or 3 nights, right? Like everyone was trying to figure out what to do, and I was just freaking out. My wife, like discussing our options, and then I think it was that Wednesday, I called like an emergency staff meeting, and 2 of our employees who were working, it was credit only, online orders only, like through the app only. We weren't letting people pay any other way. We had the door blocked off, and we were busy. We were super busy that day. And 2 of our employees were like, we have a feeling that this meeting is going to be you telling us we're closing. And that was pretty much what I was going to go into the meeting with. Like, let's shut it down. And they were like, but we're not going to let you do that. And so the 2 of our girls were like, we have to stay open, like, for our community.
Yeah.
Like, straight up. Like, they were like, we're going to be the only things that people, especially in our neighborhood, like, we're going to be the only thing that people can walk to and, like, have that moment. And if we feel safe enough to do it, like, there's no reason to close if we can make it happen. And so they pretty much convinced me to stay open, which is awesome. Because I had gone into that meeting being like, let's shut down.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was freaking out, and then we stayed busy, and we were able to pivot really hard, really quickly, and the crew is down, and so we stayed open, and we've had our busiest months ever through the pandemic.
That's interesting. Specifically, one thing I wanted to bring up. I mean, I don't know if you saw it. I mean, I'm assuming you did, but there was like this guy. I don't know who he is, but this video got sent to me on Instagram, and it was like this dude. Because I guess there was some shit with Bird Rock. I don't remember what happened, but like some shit was happening with Bird Rock, and they were like not hooking up their employees or something.
Right,
And like specifically, this dude like went online, and he was like, Scrimshaw Coffee is like staying open, and he's hooking up the fucking people, and this guy is like going on a fucking gnarly 5-6 minute rant, and I was like, damn, I was like, Will's like over here just doing it. Like, okay, dope. And then I knew that you guys were open, but I wasn't even like, dude, a couple days before, like the week leading up to that, I was going to Target in South Park every day, and I would get like another case of water, or I would get like vitamin D vitamins. Sure. And then like, I bought a Mr. Coffee because I was like, bro, if the world's shutting down, I'm not going outside. Right. Like, I'm going to fucking chill. I'm by myself. I don't have like family down here. It's like, I set my room up to basically be like a one-stop shop for everything. So like I would only go out every 2 weeks, and I would hit everything in like a 3-hour span, like go home and like fucking like sanitize everything. But it was like waters, coffees and stuff. But like, dude, it was really random is that I would have people from different coffee shops, especially Bird Rock and other stuff. And people were like, Connor, let me drop you off some coffee. And I was just people like, I don't even really talk to. And they were like, yo, bro, you need coffee? I was like, fuck yeah, like, let's get it.
Take it.
Yeah, and then so I had all this, like, dude, one of my homie from Bird Rock gave me this fucking, like, 8-ounce thing of geisha. I was like, dude, what? Like,
that's a trip.
So it was just that, like, kind of sparked my thing, and it was like, I knew that you stayed open, and then Steel Mill stayed open the entire time. They never closed. I think they closed for, like, a week.
For sure.
And then they opened back up.
Yeah.
Were you ever stressed during that time?
Totally. Well, so like we do a pretty heavy food program. We kind of always have taken that seriously, the food side of the cafe, and just because it's something we're all passionate about, or I am, and our crew is, and so we like knocked out 2 of our counters. Like, so we closed. There was one holiday within there. I forget what day it was. It was an early maybe Veterans Day. When's Veterans Day?
I have no idea.
Yeah. It was, I think in April, maybe May. Anyways, there's like a Monday holiday somewhere in there. And we always stay open on Monday holidays. It's like straight cash money for us, right? Because everyone's got it off. Everything's, But we were like, let's close and remodel real quick. And then so we knocked these counters out, put some new fridges in, and literally like expanded our food program like that. So we were doing these like bowls and salads and really cool stuff. And again, because nothing in our neighborhood is open or cool in general or that great. And so we were like, we all of a sudden have this influx of people who are working at home, who have nothing to do, have nowhere to go. And if we can do it safely and be that one moment in these people's days where they talk to a human that they like, that's not in their family, then, and we can be that, then we can, get through this. And hospitality and service is huge for me and like the crew. And so I've taken it very seriously through this whole time where, people had their go-to spots at work, whether they say they work downtown, they have their go-to spots. But if they're working from home and then we set this new standard of hospitality during the pandemic when they're working at home, when they go back, and if that cafe is not meeting that expectation that we've now set, they're going to be like, what? This is... So just really raising the bar across the board for food, coffee, and service through the pandemic has really, I think, helped us. So yes, it's been stressful, but I think it's been stressful in a different way of just making sure we just hit those marks and challenging ourselves to do so. Because we've done it safe the whole time. So if that is like the biggest thing that everyone's worried about, and if we can do it safely, then everything else can follow suit and just be the same.
So you go through a couple months of this pandemic. You guys have pivoted pretty hard. You expand your cafe in the food.
What? Start roasting.
Yeah, dude, you all of a sudden you go to roasting. Now, I have a kind of a layered question to that, but like before I get ahead of myself, it's like, what made you want to do that?
Yeah, it's been a thing for a while, right? And there's always it's been a desire for a long time, and there's a couple reasons we didn't do it, like being discouraged by people who are like, it's an entire, like, you think it's twice the work, it's 5 times the work, right? Which isn't a lie, but that doesn't mean it's impossible. 1, 2, there's a lot of these roasters doing like, white label stuff, like, which is cool, private labeled, like, but I don't want someone else roasting my coffee and saying that I roasted it, which I think a lot of people are like, yeah, we have our own coffee now. It's like, yeah, but you're not really doing anything.
Yeah.
And so I that works for people, and that's cool. And I hope we get accounts accordingly.
Yeah. No, I mean, like that's a big part of my business too, though. Sure. Like I roast a lot of other companies' coffee, and they just slap their label on it. It's like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, no,
I know.
I mean,
they know
for sure, and I'm down with that. I'm looking for those accounts myself, but I couldn't serve that in the shop and have it be called something like that. So
yeah,
we've done when we were working with Coffee and Tea Collective. They roasted a coffee for us, and it was like exclusively a collab. Like we cupped and chose the coffees, but it was blatant on the packaging. Like this is a special coffee, roasted by Coffee and Tea, sourced by Scrim, collab coffee. Really, I don't want to white label it. That's not us entirely, so we can't do it. So it had been a long time coming, like, and we kind of stepped into it in that world a little bit. Like, can we bridge the gap between roaster and cafe who's serving somebody else's coffee? What does that look like? And then even sharing margin. Like, what if I took on the financial liability of buying green for the roaster so they don't have to do it? Like, is that
complicated?
It is complicated for sure. And so I was trying to come up with all these like middle grounds, and this is all pre-pandemic as well. And then finally just got to a point where I was like, I just need to roast. And, the collective had been doing its thing for about a year or whatever. And Tyler had been roasting there. And I've known Tyler since probably 2014 or something. We worked at a big chain coffee company together a long time ago. And so when he was doing all that, I was like, man, I got to get up there. Had met Elliot a time or two. And then finally gave me his business card one day and reached out and toured it. And literally the next week we started. So...
Dope.
And it was a lot of books and a lot of YouTube and a lot of reading and bad coffee and dumping stuff out and all that. But that's how it goes, man.
Dude, I can totally. Did you get any type of consulting?
Not really.
No?
I mean, Elliot did like that, intro course that we had to do, and they recommended putting me in touch with Scott and all that. And
interesting,
and I kind of just like, I'll figure this out, man.
What's the intro course? I didn't take that.
It's more of a like orientation to the space and how
to
turn on, clean, and what just like basic stuff.
Like yeah.
And so you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I didn't have to do that. Before I started roasting at the collective, I'd have been roasting for
a minute.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years by that point.
Awesome. So
it's been a long time. And ironically, the SF25 was, I don't remember if it was Elliot or Len, maybe both. I don't know. But they were like, have you ever roasted on an SF25 before? I was like, actually, I uncrated one of these things, and like I helped place it in, I fucking helped set this thing up, and it's like, and that was, talk about stressful and a crash course and not knowing what the fuck you're doing.
For
like,
sure.
Hectic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I was very aware with or very familiar with that roasting machine. It was actually harder for me to roast on the SF6 and then they had like that original roaster that
The
Elliot
Ambex?
had. Yeah, the Ambex. That's
yeah.
right. It was like learning how to roast on those smaller machines was like a whole new. That was like a whole new thing for me.
For sure.
SF25, no problem.
Yeah.
Like, that's good because I was always familiar with that.
Yeah.
But roasting on these smaller machines was like, holy shit.
I know. I had rented an hour on the 6 a couple weeks ago, and Len was like, "What are you doing on the 6?" And I was like, "Oh, I got like, when you have a bag of green and there's like a couple pounds left, and you're like, oh shit, I didn't calculate this right or whatever."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I just gotta I want to just roast it up at this point. And it was like taking forever to ignite, and to turn on. And I was like, do I need it that badly? And he was like, just take an extra like half an hour on the SF. I was like, all right, dude.
Dope.
And he's like, just don't even bother profiling on the 6 and just do it on the SF.
Dude, it's so. I mean, I think it's. For me as a roaster, there was one thing like that Joe Morocco, and I don't mean to name drop, but it's if I say Joe, it's like I was like, Joe is definitely an idol of mine for sure, and I've had the privilege, I've had him on the show, and then like I've also gotten to spend time with him one-on-one on multiple different occasions, and just like pick his brain because he's a coffee nerd
for sure,
but he's also just
Next
a fucking
level.
but he's also a super rad individual.
Sure.
Like, ironically, when we weren't on the podcast, all we do is talk about coffee. When he was on the podcast, we really just talked about his life.
Really?
And like, oh yeah, like, dude, we went to his hotel in fucking, me and my roommate, Ray. We like met him at his hotel room and did the podcast in his hotel room. And he like reached in the mini fridge and like just like made a cocktail. And then we're sitting there drinking and he's just like told us about how he grew up and all this. I'm like, this is so fucking crazy. But what I was getting at is that like one thing that Joe always said to me was that when you're a roaster, when you're a real roaster, it's you literally can jump on any machine and roast.
That's how it should be, man. It's like a good guitarist can shred on anything, right?
Yeah. Like a good skateboarder can pick up any board, and for the most part, you might not be able to do every trick, but you can still skate that board.
Or you'll figure something out.
Yeah.
For sure.
Dude, I mean, it's
same
like
thing. Yeah, no doubt.
I think that's what's been the most exciting and invigorating thing about the collective. I mean, it's if you want, you can roast on the Loring, you can roast on the SF25, the SF6. They have the SF1. They have the Mill City roaster in the sample one. It's like, fuck, this is super dope.
So sick.
And you get to maneuver and learn about the different drum sizes and like even charge temps. It's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, they're all nuanced, right? Like you just gotta know what you're doing, for sure. Yeah, so it's been a trip the last year. Just every week, I feel like I learned something new. But at this point, when we're really considering, so I opened Scrim, all that happened, and then we started roasting, and I was like, we just got to slap a name on this real quick. And so the Souls of Mischief song 93 Till. Yeah. And so I love that song. And I just love the idea of like we started in 93 till infinity, like whatever that means, right? And so with the pandemic hitting, it was like 17 till. We opened in 2017, 17 till like whatever knocks us out. If we got through a business partner fallout, we got through a crazy like marriage situation. We actually had gotten sued. And that's a whole different
Scrimshaw?
story. Yeah.
No.
That's a whole different story. So there's that. That was the day I got back from our honeymoon.
Stop it.
I had a hearing, which is it's a whole other thing.
Can you talk about that?
It was like an ADA compliance thing.
Fuck that, dude.
Well,
those motherfuckers, man. I'm just saying, like I've dealt with shit like that, but for different companies.
Okay, yeah.
Was it your website?
No, it was like the physical stuff in the shop. But this guy had sued like 25 other local restaurants.
Oh yeah, no.
And it was what they call like a drive-by lawsuit, where he probably never even stepped foot inside, but just kind of assumed all of these things, which were not true. Like we opened in 2017, we had to be compliant to open. Like our tables and chairs are compliant. We have bars that are low enough; they're compliant. There's no like grades that are more than a certain percentage, and just all sorts of stuff. Like all the handles in the bathroom, everything is Gucci. Yeah, and it was not according to this lawsuit. And so I was like, I'm not gonna kill. He wanted like $18,000 or something like to settle. was like, you don't get to just do that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No.
And so I was like, all right, let's figure out how to fight this. So I went to like a free law clinic and found some lawyer that was like pretty fresh out law school and like a business advocacy lawyer. Hired her and she went to bat for us and like it got dropped. And then the attorney got like sanctioned because it was a frivolous lawsuit and he was wasting the court's time. They didn't show up multiple times to the hearings. And
Not your lawyer.
No.
The other lawyer.
Yeah, the other lawyer. And we did. And so the judge just like got PO'd and he was like, this is done, dude.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Bro,
But I mean, it was still
relieved for you.
Yeah, me too, man.
Jesus.
It was a nightmare. Like, yeah, I've ranted about it quite a bit, but you know, it was still a couple G's of money that I did not have to be spending on a lawyer and court fees and some bullshit. But again, it was like business law 101, and now I have a cool lawyer that I can call up when shit happens.
When shit pops off.
Yeah, which is sick. So that came up. And so the idea of 17 Till was kind of our working name for the roasting side of the business, where it was like all of these things have happened and now we're in a global pandemic. We're pivoting and blah, 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 blah. So nothing can stop us. So like Incendiary, this hardcore band, has a song called Still Burning. And so that's kind of like was a shtick of ours, like a hashtag, and we put it on our bags. And it was like 17 Till was kind of the working title of the roasting operation. And then Still Burning was kind of like the tagline.
Okay.
And so that was all like a temporary thing. And I don't like to like just throw a label on a bag, and it's got to be right. And so when I decided to roast, I was like, 17 Till is going to be a temporary thing until I can afford to buy printed bags, do a website, do a whole bunch of merch. So that's all been in the works, and we finally just dropped it. So that is Field Trip Coffee Roasters, and finally got our bags. Website is about to go live, and then hella merch, different like LLC legal entity, all that.
Yeah.
So the whole thing. So yeah, so it feels good to finally be doing that, and it's like, and we timed that with the reopening of the shop. So we launched Field Trip, and then that was on last month or like a couple Mondays ago, and then this last Saturday, we reopened the shop inside. Yes. And we refreshed and remodeled inside. So it's kind of all an inclusive package. That's how I like to roll things out. It can't just be like pieces here and there. It's got to be the whole thing. So yeah, so we finally launched Field Trip Coffee Roasters, and that's that.
Damn.
We're doing it.
So why Field Trip?
Honestly, I don't even know where it came up. I think my wife is a teacher, first of all. Okay. So I think we were literally like just kind of reflecting on her year of Zoom teaching, you know, and just distance learning and like all that. And we were talking about, I think, like, what do you miss most about the classroom besides like the kids? And it's like field trips. We can't go on field trips. And something else had said field trip, and it just had come up multiple times in like a week. And I was like, that's kind of fun, you know, like Field Trip Coffee. Like it can be fun. It can be, you can do like the trippy kind of like play on that, like branding wise a little bit. You can do fun coffees with kind of that. And so we pulled a couple different inspirations for like the branding, and Black Sabbath's Master of Reality, the album cover, was kind of one of my mood board pieces for our logo. And so it was kind of like that kind of trippiness was like part of it. And then, just kind of learning, right? We will always want to stay learning. And so that was a big part of it as well. And it just like felt good.
Dope.
Yeah. So it was just kind of cool.
Damn, that's tight. Yeah,
it's a whole story. Sorry, dude. It just felt like I ranted for.
No, I fucking. That's why you're on the show. That's why I want you on the show. I want to know these things because it's like, I think for me, that's one thing I always ask, especially to coffee shop owners. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't had the luxury to interview too many people outside of, like, with the exception of Joe.
Sure.
I've had like a couple people. I've had mostly California people with the exception of Joe, but like up and down the state. But I haven't gotten to talk to other people outside of the other states and stuff like that. But in the local San Diego area, there happens to be, in my opinion at least, a lot of independent people who are doing a lot of things on their own. For Tyler sure. being one of them. Big shout out. I always shout out Tyler just because,
dude, he's the best.
He was one of the first dudes that, like, I remember he did it when we were doing the podcast at the other cafe. I had him on and he was like, dude, and that's when I was just roasting and like doing the podcast and skating and stuff. And he was like, if you can do this and the way you're doing these things, he's like, you could do a business. Like, sure. I don't doubt it. And it was like Tyler was one of the first ones who kind of like put the idea in my head. And then it was like another homie of mine in LA put the idea. He's like, no, you got to make some big boy moves. Like, because he's a very successful videographer. He was like one of Nipsey's videographers. And he did like Jay-Z and Beyonce's thing. So he's like Mike Morosco. You know, I fucking filmed this dude break his knee. Like I literally filmed him break his knee. No. And he was one of the gnarliest skateboarders I've ever seen in my life. And I watched him go from that to he had to figure something out once he broke his knee and he couldn't really skate anymore. And now I like when I had him on the podcast, I showed up in his house and like I don't want to say where it is, but it's in a very he asked me not to say where it was, but it's like a very affluent place of LA. Okay. And when I showed up to his house, I was looking at it and I was not stoned. I was very sober, but
just in awe, just like genuine awe.
Well, dude, it was funny is that my roommate Ray, he was so baked, he was so lit, and he looks at it, and I was looking at it, and he's like, "Is this his house?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is his house." And I was like looking at the address, and I was like. And I was looking at it, and then he walks around the house. Like, he walks over to the side, and he's, like, looking down. He's like, this is too much house for one person. Yeah. He's like, is he married? I was like, yeah, he has a wife. And he's like, but do they have kids? I was like, no, it's just them. He's like, this is way too much house for somebody. And he's like,
funny.
He's like, how do you know this full? I was like, he actually used to skate. Like, blah, 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 go through it. Yeah. Then we walked through his house, and he's, like, showing me everything, or showing us everything. And we're just like, I was like, Mike, what the fuck, bro? Like, and he was still the same. I mean, he's definitely changed a little bit because it's like, I don't think it's like he changed, like money changed him, but it's like when you start, I feel like when you reach a certain level, you change a little bit.
For sure.
You know? And it's like he changed in the sense where he's like, no, we got to do this. We got to go now. It's like, even if you fuck up.
No doubt, dude.
You just got to go.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Sure.
And he told me a story about he got his big break doing a Juicy J video.
Damn.
And the budget for the video was $1,000. That's it. And he said he had $6,000 in his bank account. So he ended up like putting five and like $5,500 towards it. So he made it like $6,500 budget. And he said he funded it himself basically. But he said afterwards he had like a couple $100 left in his bank account. And it was probably the worst video he's ever shot. But he made a shitload of connections, and it led to other jobs.
There you go.
And he told me, it was like, money comes and goes, bro. You cannot fucking worry about money. And he's like, at the same time, you have to take the risk. And that's when he looked at me. He's like, with the company that I was working with before, he was like, I see you always promoting them. He's like, do you have a stake in that company? I was like, no. He's like, then why the fuck are you promoting them all the time? And I was like, because it's my coffee, I'm roasting it. He's like, yes, but that's not your coffee. He's like, it's your coffee that you're roasting it, but it's not your coffee.
Sure.
So he said to me, he was like, how old are you now, Kano? And this is a month before the pandemic. So I was fucking 33, 34. I turned 30. I must have been 33. I was 33. Damn. I hadn't turned 34 yet. So I was like, yeah, 33. He's like, yep, you're old enough. He's like, you got to make some big boy moves. He's like, when are you going to start your own roastery? And I was just like, what? And then it was just like, you know, I was like, whatever. And then we go through the podcast and he starts telling me shit about Nipsey and Beyonce and Jay-Z and fucking, he's just like Trinidad James and like dropping all these names and all these people that he's done. And it's not to be cool. It's like, I'm interviewing you and this is how his life has changed. And it was like after I left there, I remember driving home that night and I was just like, something needs to change. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit. And then like I ended up leaving that company in like July of last year. And as a huge fuck you to them, I started my own company. But it was funny, ironically, as I left the parking lot, I was so fucking pissed off about how everything went down and how shady that motherfucker is. I don't care. You hear it. I said it. But like, I called Shay at Steel Mill before I was in the parking lot walking away from them. And I was like, I ain't working for them no more. And he's like, let me call Riley. And it was like, boom. And then 2 weeks later, I incorporated Caffeine and Green as a roastery. And that was it.
Hell yeah.
So it was as a roaster. And then I started my own thing as the biggest fuck you to people who are just shady.
Yeah.
So, and I never looked back. And like, that's why I don't say their name. That's why I don't even acknowledge them. It's like, they know who they are and they know what they fucking did. So it's like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think it was the best thing that ever could have happened because it pushed me to like do what I needed to do to get on my own and realize it's like, if I did that for a company that didn't appreciate me and like really just kind of like milked me for all it was worth, then why the fuck am I not going to do that for myself? Yeah, it's going to be hard. Yeah, you're going to take some risks. You're definitely going to take some L's.
For sure.
And you're going to fail your way to success. But in a really fucked up way, like, I will never, like, I seen this fool the other day, actually. And I just looked at him, and I turned my back, and I was wearing my Caffeine and Green shirt. And it's just like, I know he saw it. And it was just like, yeah, fuck you, bro.
Shit.
Like, so it's like, that's what it is. But at the same time, in a really weird way, it's like, I'm so grateful that happened. Totally. Because I know their coffee's not good anymore, and my coffee's fucking bomb, son. So
yeah. Sometimes you gotta sink to swim, right? Or like gotta get pushed off out of the nest to fly away. But
I love it. But that's why I like to hear what it is. Like, all that being said, I like to hear what it is on why people are doing what they do. Yeah. Because like we were talking about before the podcast, I don't like the term entrepreneur. Right. I don't like that.
Well, I was just going to ask you since that was, you know, your homie Mike was kind of a big piece to kind of get the ball rolling, almost sounds like. What did you consider yourself, or did you ever see yourself being a business owner before Caffeine and Green and before this kind of last pivotal year?
Dude, you know what's funny is I was literally just talking about this the other day. It was the first time I've talked about it in a couple years, actually. So I don't know. I knew who you were, but we didn't like know each other. We had like mutual associates and stuff, and like homies. But I used to be married, right? And the reason I got into coffee was because my ex was from Hawaii. And when we decided that we were gonna like get married and like, you know, do this thing, she was always telling me like, yo, I want to move back to Hawaii. And I'm like, fuck, you know, like at first I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do in Hawaii? I grew up in California. I don't, you know, up until I got into coffee, I was like doing sales and marketing and PR, which is fine. Like it's cool. I did it in action sports and stuff. Yeah. And but I was like, in Hawaii, like, fuck, there's only so much you can do. You're on an island, bro. Like, and it's the big island, and that's fine. But it was like, what am I gonna do? And then I left San Francisco. I went back up there for a year in 2015 to work, and I came back in 2016, and I wanted to be with my ex, so I did literally what I knew best to do, and that was hustle. Yeah. So I got a job at a cycling studio, like within 2 days of being back. Every job I applied for, they were like, no. And then like I went to Zoom Bar Coffee and Tea, and they had a question on there. It was like, what was your salary before? And I put my salary. They're like, you're not going to make that here. And I was like, that's fine. But I knew in my head, I was like, I always wanted to work in coffee. And I was like, I got turned down from a job at Starbucks when I was like 20, 21, something like that. And they were like, you have tattoos, so you couldn't do it, you know? So, I mean, obviously now it's changed, but like at the time they were anti-tattoo. And so for some reason, I got the idea in my head that I was like, hey, you know, my ex's stepfather is a farmer in Hawaii, and he's a cattle farmer. He owns an auto body shop, and he grew coffee. Okay. And like, dude, straight up origin. That's right. On the Hamakua coast side, on the Big Island, dude, we would go there, and they had land. They had originally 10 acres, and then it got down to 5 over the 10 years that we were together. And I would go there, and I would like pick coffee, and I would go, and I'd see all the scrub spiders crawling in there, and it was like they were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they would like leave, and like my ex would go into town because they lived out in the fucking country, bro. And like, so everybody would leave the house. Like my ex sister-in-law, she would like go, I don't know what they call it, but like go on like knocking on doors, like, hey, you know, want to talk about the word or whatever. Witnessing? What do you? I don't even know. Like, yeah, they're Jehovahine, you know, like whatever. No hate. It's just like what they were doing. Sure. And then like they all like everybody in her family pretty much owned their own business. So they would I would be visiting. So they're like, Connor, you can just chill. And then they would give me a bucket, like a 14-foot ladder, and I would just go pick coffee. But they didn't know I smoked weed. So I would roll a J and then I would just go sit in these coffee trees and then just smoke weed and pick coffee.
That was great.
Dude, it was so G.
Hawaii? It was incredible.
But it was kind of shitty, in the sense that it was so humid and so hot, but that was the only shitty thing. Everything else was so dope. I'm smoking weed, I'm picking cherries and doing all these things. But that was where I found my I don't know, I don't want to sound so poetic or make it sound like it's luxurious. I mean, that's not even the right word, but I was just very, very happy.
Yeah.
And I never felt that way about anything I'd ever done, really. Except for maybe skateboarding. And coffee for me, it's a huge part of my life. It's my mom taught me how to make coffee at 5 years old for her, and a little Splenda, a little bit of milk, walk it over to her on her vanity. I've talked about this on the podcast ad nauseum, but then fast forward, it's some of the oldest memories I have is drinking coffee with my pops, or my grandmother will sit there and we'll eat pan dulce, and coffee's a huge part of my life. So I always had this thing where I wanted to work in coffee shops and shit. And then so it was I kind of came up with this plan. I was like, hey, if we're really going to move back to Hawaii, I want to open up a roastery. And I had talked to my ex-father-in-law, and on the auto body shop land, he bought the land of the auto body shop. I had talked to my in-laws, and I was like, hey, can I I was going to tell Elliot about this when I have him on the podcast in a couple days. But he actually I came back from Hawaii and picking coffee cherries, and then I found out about Steady State, the original Steady State with the welding shop. Yeah. And no cap,
so sick,
dude, I walked in there and I found out about it, and they were like, yo, this is one of the best roasters. He's award winning, all this shit. Cause I was working at Zumbar, and they were like, yo, you need to go in there. And so I go in, and they're like, oh, they're only open on certain days, blah, blah, blah. And it was kind of mysterious, right?
Sure.
At least to me,
completely under the radar.
Under the radar. And then you have to go in the back of this fucking thing, and you go in.
It's down the rock path. Yeah.
The rock path with those colorful, the colorful wall shit, the tires and stuff.
For sure.
And I went in there with my ex, and I was like, I see the welding shop or whatever it was, but they built out that beautiful bar.
Yeah, for sure.
They had the Amex behind the counter. I remember I got a shot of espresso, and I got either a macchiato or a cortado. I don't remember.
That was my first over $10 shot I ever paid for.
Dude, but so worth it.
Absolutely.
So I had never had a shot get given to me in that little baby ass cup that they used to do it with flecking on it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it was called flecking at the time, but I remember it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there with my ex, and I was like, this is it. I was like, we talked to Jason, my ex-father-in-law. And I was like, we talked to him. Let me carve out a section of the auto body shop. Let me put a roaster in there. And I was like, I'll get a coffee cart on wheels. And he got all the insurance companies. So if you dent a car on the Big Island and you rented it from the airport,
sure,
he has every contract.
That's sick.
At his auto body shop. So make more, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and there's hella people coming in and out of his shop, and it's out in the country.
Oh yeah.
So it's I was like, fuck it.
You're not going to go somewhere while your car's getting fixed. You got to wait.
Yeah.
You're kicking it.
So I was like, I will roast my own coffee and then serve it there. Yeah. And then we'll figure it out. So it was kind of in the works, you know, and then, I presented the idea to I got the idea. I talked with my ex, and then we presented it to my in-laws, and they were like, you guys want to move back? And we're like, yeah, and he was like, okay. So my ex was going to take over the auto body shop, cause she's did it, I guess, when she was younger. And then I was going to do that. And they were super, super stoked on it. They have land, right. I was telling you where the coffee trees were. They had this house in the back of it. It was a 1-bedroom house that they had built on the land. And they were like, Kano, you can move here. You know, my ex would stay on the mainland for a while till she could get a job on the island, but I could start getting everything ready. And then when she wanted it ready to move, we would have a house.
That's sick.
And it was out in the country, and it was do all this, and it's literally you walk out of the door and there's coffee trees, and it was just this is so fucking dope. Dude. I get married. The day after I get married is my birthday.
Okay.
So I thought I was like, yo, it's about to be lit. Like, for the rest of my life, it's like my wedding anniversary is the day before my birthday, and it's gonna be lit.
Oh no.
So the day after we get married, we're out in like we're out at like her like my in-laws or no at her grandparents' house, and her grandfather who had moved here from the Philippines was sitting there. It was like her grandfather, my father-in-law, and then me, and they're like, all right, Kano, and they like super serious. They're like, all right, what's the plan? And they like, well, let's put it into action right now. They're like, you're married now, like it's like you're your family, so what's popping? My father-in-law tells me, he's like, I know you want to do this, but he's like, I know all these farmers. There's only 2 roasters on the whole island, and it's the big island, so it's a big fucking island. And I had already researched this, so I knew about these roasters. And I was like, I know which island roasters these are, this one and this one, and they do exactly what I was doing. They only roast for other farmers, but there's so many farmers that want to roast coffee, they can't keep up. So he's like, I'm going to introduce you to these farmers, and then you're going to start roasting all their coffees. So I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm not even going to do a cafe. I'm just going to open up a roastery.
Sure.
I was telling the story to somebody who asked me that the other day, and without even realizing it, I was sitting there and I was like, I'm still doing exactly what I was saying, but I'm just doing it here. And I was like, what a fucking trip, right? I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it. Like, it's still happening. So to be honest with you, bro, like that long ass winded answer, like it was just so gnarly to me that without even realizing it, I wanted to do this because I don't know why I didn't ever think about roasting coffee in the sense it was like I just had the cup and I was like, I fucking love this.
Right.
Once I found out Zoom Bar roasted their own coffee, I became obsessed, and I just pestered fucking Steve.
Yeah.
Every time I saw him, I'd be washing dishes. Hey, Steve, you need anybody roasted yet? And he's like, have you ever roasted Kano? No. You know, and I skipped over being a barista.
For sure.
I went straight from like 3rd position, which was on like doing square, and like I got 1 thing of steaming milk.
Shit.
And then I was washing dishes, and then finally 4 months later, they were like, hey, Kano, do you want to roast? Yeah. And I was just like, they're like, you're moving over to Sereno Valley. And it was like, game on.
That's sick. Well, I mean, I asked you a couple weeks ago, right? I was like, when's the brick and mortar coming? And you're like, I don't know, dude. I'm not sure that that's what I want to do.
No, it's
and
not.
It sounds like from both of those stories, you're a roaster through and through, dog.
You know, it's funny. It's like, because you brought it up. It's about I've never heard it called white label, just personally. I've never heard it called that.
Yeah.
But also, dude,
what do you call it? Private
I call it private
okay,
label.
yeah.
Like, or like ghost roast.
Right.
You know? But, which ironically is Matt's company.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like in San Diego, a lot of people say ghost roast, but I think that might just be like his company's, like, people misconstrued that's the term for private labeling. Because I've only heard it in San Diego. Like, not that I talk to a lot of people outside of San Diego about private label coffee roasting.
But I mean, like Steve, my mentor, he called it ghost roasting.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, that's where I got it from.
Okay, I see.
So I mean,
that's
maybe it is
sick name, dude.
Yeah,
super
it is
sick.
a great name.
Matt crushed it with that,
dude. He did, and then he does banana dings, right? So it's like,
he does a lot, I think. But yeah,
that's
sick.
fucking dope. So it's like, I mean, dude, I don't know, like. So much of my roasting is like sometimes I trip out because I'm like, I haven't made a sale online or this, that, and this. But then it's like I sell, 72 bags here or 300 bags here, but it's to an account that is actually wanting Caffeine and Green. Or I have a private label. It's like, hey, we want you to do this. And it's like, dude, at the end of the day, if you're still making money, fuck it. Like I roasted it. You're going to like it.
Like, you're proud of the product. They're proud of the product. Even if it doesn't have C&G's name on it, it's somebody else's name. Like, you're still selling it.
Exactly.
You've had control over it the whole time. So
exactly. So it's like, to be honest, and like, and to answer your question about the brick and mortar again, it's just like, dude, where it's going is like, I definitely see myself having like a coffee cart, a pickup window, but Caffeine and Green is fully just roaster. Like I'm gonna be making some moves here, like very, very soon to get my own warehouse, get a roaster. I'll make the moves to get like the nice espresso machine and like get a coffee cart and do that. But it's like, bro, I'm going to do super limited shit, like 10 to 2, 10 to 3, maybe.
In the showroom.
Like, well, just no, like every day, like if people want to come by and it like, cool. But like, it's really weird. Like the way I think about it is like, I have my fight team.
Right.
And I love them. I love every single one of them so much. And I show endless support for them, and they show nothing but love and support from me. And it's because of them. Like my first fighter, Tyler Schaefer, shout out. She fucking was like, Connor, like, I just would really like to, be able to like tell people that like this is where I got my coffee. She's like, I love C&G, and she's like, I always rep it. I love the gear, and like I love the coffee. But she's like, I still find myself going to like Starbucks or Better Buzz or like getting coffee. And she's like, I wish I could have like a caffeine and green shit, like, and it's like, fuck, like, I want that for them too.
For sure. I mean, because it's like that's like the boots on the ground, right? It's like that's how people connect. They put the face to the coffee company inside a shop.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like, I think it's just so much more. Like I was thinking about it today, bro. Like caffeine and green is like, the coffee's just the in, but it's by no means the end. For sure. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is how it's going to start.
Yeah.
The way I see caffeine and green going, and it's so funny we're talking about this because I literally was just talking about this afternoon, is like, this is going to be the beginning. It's going to be like a roastery and like cold brew production and like have a pickup window for limited hours. And like, I want my fighters to be like, fuck yeah, dope.
For sure.
But like, I'm already thinking, I don't even have the first warehouse. I'm thinking about the next warehouse where it's going to be like even bigger, like Black Rifle type shit where you have this huge warehouse, but then I'm going to split that bitch. I'm going to put an octagon in there. I'm going to put a full training center, and like my fighters are going to be able to like come and train and fucking do the damn thing. And it's like, eventually, if global warming gets fucked and we can't grow coffee, fuck it. We go to C&G. It's already C&G.
And
there you go. And then we'll get to a point where people are like, what does C&G mean? It's like, oh, it just means caffeine and green. But that's originally how it started. But like, we can't grow coffee no more. So now we're just like this sick ass Ruka type shit, or something. Like, I don't even know.
Hell yeah, dude. I mean, like Tyler and I have had similar conversations with like him and the BMX thing, right? Like during the pandemic, him and I would call each other a lot and just link up. And a lot of times I'd be like, dude, when are you just going to do like a BMX shop with a coffee component, right? Like that kind of makes sense for him. Like it's coffee and BMX down there at Tired Eyes. And I feel like, I mean, that to me makes sense. Like a sick bike shop with a coffee component.
Wasn't there like that cycle one, like in like PB or some shit?
Oh,
or
coffee
like
cycle. Well, maybe that's different, but.
Do you need another beer?
I would be down.
Yeah.
Keep going. But no, I think Coffee Cycle's like he's an ex-Bird Rock employee, I think, and he started doing his thing a couple years ago. And it's just because it was on literally a bicycle, his little setup, and now it's just inside. So that's something different, unless you're thinking a different shop that I don't know about.
I'm thinking about a different shop personally,
Okay.
just because like I thought. I mean, like, well, no, I mean it's like. Okay, I sound. Sorry, Tyler or Elliot, if you're listening to this. But it's like because I asked Elliot the other day, and he was like, "Oh, I do mountain biking." Right. And then there's like Tyler's like BMX, right. And then there's like cycling.
Sure.
Okay. And I was under the impression that the cycle bar was like a cycling shop. So
no,
I think it's like the dudes with
so.
the fucking like the little hats and shit.
The fixies.
Okay. Yeah. Is that what they are? Is that what that fixie is? I don't know either.
The fixie doesn't have gears. It's just the chain. And,
okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Tyler, if we're fucking.
Fuck. I don't know.
Elliot, yeah.
But it's just like that was like that would be so fucking dope. Like because he is holding it down for that shit.
For sure, dude. Yeah, we all carve out a scene like our own thing, right? So it makes sense to
gotta find your lane.
Absolutely. Why not have a gym in there, dude? Yeah, it'd be sick, dog.
No, dude, I fully like. See, the thing about it is like Caffeine and Green started like with just for me and my like thing was like skateboarding and fighting, and hip hop music, and like I just took all of my interests and fucking threw them into one thing.
That's great, man.
I have the collab with Morning Sesh, which has been the highest selling coffee that I've had to date, and it was super fucking dope. And what do you call it? Hold on, sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry. There we go. It was super fucking dope, but it was like, I wanted to bring all those interests and then bridge them together. Like, so when I had Morning Sesh come out, it was like the skateboarding element and doing these things. I definitely wanted to figure out my lane, but like when I was fighting, that was like the one lane. So come on in. So for everybody who can't see, we got our homegirl Sophie Short. She was also on the podcast.
Boom. What's up? How's it going?
I got you. Thank you, Sophie. She picked up some coffee.
Yeah, she cruised through the shop this last weekend. Shout out to Sophie.
Yes, shout out. So I think, you know, it was funny is like I had a call with my homegirl Diana. She's the head of my marketing team, but she's in Arizona. And when we were starting the company, she was like, I just really maybe don't just corner yourself in this fight game. But then as things have developed over the last year, I'm starting to find out that like my lane is literally like skateboarding and fighting, and fighting is starting to take over a lot. For sure. And like with doing the pop-up I did yesterday, was at like a Legion AJJ over in Miramar, and it's one of the biggest jiu-jitsu gyms in the world.
That's incredible.
And it was like, she was like, I'm starting to understand. She's like, is jiu-jitsu big in San Diego? I was like, it's the capital in the nation. Like there's per capita, there's more people practicing jiu-jitsu here.
That's a trip. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And fighting.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's like, she was like, okay,
then
I understand a little bit more.
Right.
And so it's like, once you find your lane, it's like,
sure, dude.
go all in, baby.
No doubt. Yep.
Fuck it. You know, like.
For sure.
But the skateboarding too, like I love my homies, you know, like there's nobody who's really doing it like that for the community, which in the communities which I fuck with the hardest.
For sure.
So it's like, well, fuck it. I'm going to do it for my people. Like my people are fighters. My people are skateboarders. My people are rappers. Like, yo, let's just go. Yeah. Let's grind. Let's hustle. Whatever we got to fucking do. And then you see somebody like Tyler, and Tyler wasn't really doing that so much. Like at first it was just a cool logo and a great fucking name.
For sure.
And then he's kind of doing his thing. And then over the pandemic, he, like you, pivoted. And then
I mean, when your homies are like some of the biggest in the game, like why not like
why the
capitalize on them? But they're into it. Like it's a lifestyle, right? Like we're all drinking coffee. Why not just like
it's not even a lifestyle. They're your homies
for sure.
You know what I mean? It's like
they're identifying with it because you're all doing it.
Well, and they know who you are.
Right.
They fuck with you as a person, and I think more so that's the most important thing that you can do. Yeah. Like I don't want to sound like so business minded when I say this, but like as a person, like people want authenticity.
For sure.
People want to know who you are, who you really are.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're really this person who be like smoking weed, fucking, you're out here skateboarding, you're out here fighting, you're out here fucking making this coffee, and then at the same time you're finding time to fuck with all your homies who do the same shit. They're like, yo, what the fuck?
He's actually about all that.
Yeah, he's about that life. But at the same time, you're still working, you're grinding, and it's like,
no doubt.
I'm sure, I mean, like, you have the cafe.
Yeah.
You have the cafe, and you have your team of people who see that you're about what the fuck you're about.
No doubt, yeah.
So that's like, you cannot beat that.
For sure.
That authenticity, that real shit. Because, like, I think that's why small businesses, so, I mean, like, granted, like, you know, we all want to get bigger and get to this point, but it's like the one thing I always want to stay away from, regardless of how big you get, you have to stay true to who you are.
For sure,
bro.
dude.
Like,
for sure. I know, yeah, and figuring out how to like communicate and articulate that to your customers, because I mean, you obviously get to a point. Like I've been very removed from the shop, being on the floor making coffee. Right, I'm hardly there making coffee these days. Like maybe once or twice a week, mainly over the last like 2 to 3 months because we've been remodeling, and I'm there till like 2 a.m. every night, doing everything myself. Right, and so it's like roasting is a whole day. Right, yeah. Some like marketing stuff, even just design work, like a bag design, right? Like that's a whole thing. Whether it's branding meetings or like whatever. Anyways, I have only been on the floor like one or 2 days a week over the last couple months, and like literally last week, I was closing up on one of my barista shifts by myself, and like some customer walks in and they're like, "Oh, are you new?" And I get that.
Are you new?
I get that relatively often now, which is like kind of a cool thing.
That's dope.
Because like that means we are maintaining our soul. We're still growing our customer base, and like we're still I've been able to articulate through our employees, or we're hiring like-minded people, attracting a like-minded audience, still doing our thing, and people are still relating to it, right? So we're growing our customer base. This person comes in, oh, are you new? I'm like, nah, I've been here a while, actually. I just like haven't been working a whole lot lately. And I don't tell people I'm the owner. That's super weird to me. And I hate, like, yeah, I don't know. It's a whole thing. But I have an issue with like, I don't know.
Do you tell people you're the roaster at least?
I mean, we only really launched Field Trip like literally a week ago. And so I haven't.
Super fresh.
Yeah. So I haven't really done that. And still, I always say us. I always say us about everything. Like, we're doing this, we're doing that. And it's always just me, right? I mean, I'm speaking for the crew, yeah, and for the shop and our community.
But it's a collective.
Yeah, but like when it comes to actually getting your hands dirty, like I'm pretty much the only one doing all of it.
Yeah.
And so when people would be like, "Oh, you roast your own coffee now?" and we'd be like, "Yeah, we started about a year ago." And they're like, "Oh, that's so sick." They don't really. I don't want to say they don't care, the person doing it, if the brand is strong enough in articulating what you're about. And so, yeah, I think like with 17 Till, which is our holdover brand, was like still burning. We had a bunch of blog posts on our website that got some traction. That was cool, kind of about why we chose 17 Till, what that means, et cetera. And so we had a story we could back up with the questions, and people did relate to those things. So I think, yeah, kind of going back to what you're about, who you're fucking with, and all of that. Like if you let it bleed through the brand and product and space, then people will get it. You know, they'll like they pick up on it, whether you know the person or not. Yeah. Because naturally it's gonna bleed through. It's Caffeine and Green is the name of the brand, dog. Like that gets the point across pretty clearly.
You'd be very surprised though how many fucking people are like, so is there weed in this? It's like, no, there's not fucking weed. But you know what's funny? I will say this, and it's like for everybody listening out there, like, yo, money. This might sound fucking dumb, but like, I literally had this conversation the other day with somebody, and they were like, "What do you caffeine and green like weed?" I'm like, "No, money used to be green."
Yeah.
And I was like, if you go somewhere like most of the time, $1 bills, $5, they're still green. Yeah, but I was like, it's now blue.
Right
now,
straight
fucking
up,
money is blue. Like
the
Migos have a song called "Blue Cheese."
That's
and
funny,
it's 50,000 on me. Like, you know, like.
Wait, so do you think that's a regional thing? And being in Southern California, people just associate with weed. Like, if you went to the Midwest somewhere,
I feel like they would still say it.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is that, like, I think as the brand grows, it's gonna be it's irrelevant. You know, I'm in grocery stores. They're not gonna put weed in a grocery store. You know, like not yet at least.
Or CBD infused, right?
Infused, like whatever. But like you have to mark it, right?
For sure, there's some legal requirements.
Exactly.
There.
Like even the mushroom coffee stuff that I've been seeing out there.
For sure.
Not the renewed, but like the shit like in the stores. Like mushroom coffee. Like, okay, it has cordyceps and lion's mane and doing these things. You have to put it on the label.
Yeah.
So I definitely would say like it's becoming easier to get past it. Like the first couple months was like, oh my God, it's not weed. It's just caffeine and green, but it's like, it grew out of the podcast.
Sure.
And like, you know, that's the other thing is like the podcast itself was caffeine and green.
Right.
I did have a chef turn me down once.
No way.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He was like, I'm on he's like he's like on this board for like rehab people.
Oh shoot! Yeah.
So he was like,
he just assumed it was about.
Yeah,
weed.
he was like, you just talk about weed. I'm like, no, bro, it's called caffeine and green. And then like, I was like, have you heard of the rapper Nipsey Hussle? This has this whole thing, but like to your point was that like there was, what were you just saying? Like, you were saying that like people are gonna fuck with it.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, not everybody fucks with caffeine and green because my whole shit is hustling.
For sure.
And like, I know it's so hot right now to be like, hustle, grind, stay on it, do this. But it's like, dude, this is what I've been on since I was a little baby ass kid. Yeah. Like 17 years old and 16 years old. My mom, shout out my mom for this. Like my mom, I came home one day when I was 17 years old for my birthday. And I was by no means like a rich kid, but she knew I needed a car. And so she went to the dealership and she bought me my first car, which was a 97 Volkswagen Jetta.
Hell yeah.
It was black. The name was Ozzy because in the middle of my license plate it said Oz.
Hell yeah.
So I'd call them Ozzy,
All
and
right.
it was black. I was like, this is fucking dope, you know. And I fucking mobbed that thing. It was so G. But my mom did this whole shit. I remember. She opened the garage and like she was standing, like she had her boyfriend pick me up, and then like we went to the house and it opened up, and she was standing next to the car and she was like, "Happy birthday!" I was like, "Is this mine?" She's like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Dope," you know, like, I got a car.
Freaking out.
And she's like, "Okay, so you gotta pay your insurance, you gotta pay your gas, you gotta pay your car payment," and I was like, "I want it."
Yeah.
I was like, "Nah, take it back." And I was like, "I don't want all that shit." And she's like, "Nah, like you have to." She's like, "It's time for you to grow up."
Yeah. Damn.
And from that moment on, I was running track. I was, like honor roll student type shit. And then I got a job at Chuck E. Cheese. And then I got a job at Club Sport, which is like this gym that I worked at.
Yeah.
So I had 2 jobs, doing school, doing sports, and I skateboarded. And I was still on the contest circuit with skateboarding. Damn. So it was like, bro, this is when I was 17. It's like from 16 on, it was hustle.
Yeah.
It never stopped. It never and it was like my mom was like, "This is what you have to do. Like you don't have a silver spoon, Connor.
Yeah, yeah.
There ain't gonna be nobody else
Yeah.
looking out for you.
No
this
doubt.
is it." And it was like that.
Dude, I relate. When I was I was probably 7 years old, I had like a monopoly on lawn mowing in our neighborhood, and like would push my lawnmower around. And I had this little metal safe that it was $5 for me to mow your lawn. This was in like, yeah, a long time ago. And every weekend I would make like $300, and I was like,
What?
I was like probably, I was probably like 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years
You
old.
made $300 at 8 years old every weekend.
Oh, dude, it was messed up. And that's the thing where I've always had a problem with authority since. Like anyone, a boss, I don't do well
Like,
because
nah,
I'm
son.
like, yeah. So I've always had an issue with that. And like I couldn't get a job in high school. In high school I lived in Hemet, which is like the worst place on earth.
I've been to Hemet.
Dude, it's just like,
Is that where you're from?
no, I went to high school there. I'm
Okay,
from
okay.
here, like 3rd generation San Diegan, but my mom got remarried. She was a single mom, and that's the other part that I think probably not messed me up, but instilled some work ethic. Like she did multiple jobs, support 2 kids alone, right?
Yeah.
Got to do what you got to do. And
Shout out single moms.
Yeah, absolutely. So she got remarried to my stepdad, and they bought like a house together up there. And this was in early thousands when tract homes were like just the American dream of like a yard and a big house, and we had whatever. So we had like 6 people in our family. Everyone had their own room for the first time, and like it was a big deal. But there were all these lawns that needed to be mowed, and so I was mowing everyone's lawns, dude.
So G. That's
Then,
so G.
yeah. So in high school, I just like couldn't get a job, and I told you before the podcast. Also, I went to school for a little bit for audio production.
Yeah.
So in high school, it was like in music and bands and stuff, and started recording bands and started recording bands and hitting up like, the local all the garage bands, charging them a couple $100 a session in our back room where I just had all our audio production gear, and it was sick, man. And so then Hemet is the worst place on earth. So at 17, I was like, I'm out, back to San Diego. Damn. As soon as a week after graduation, got a couple part-time jobs, was trying to do school, dropped out multiple times, like community college, and just hate it, dude.
Same.
And I've always been like good at it. It's not hard. I just hate being told what to learn and all that shit, right? So yeah, and so then I was ultimately I was in school full time working, and I got like a part-time food running job at this spot in North Park, which is gone now. But within like 2 months, I was like promoted. They fired the GM, and then I was all of a sudden a salaried GM at like 24 years old of this restaurant.
Wow.
I was probably like 22, 23. It was bad. It was good. It was awesome. But I was working like 80, 90 hours a week and salaried, which really, in retrospect, isn't horrible. But I was tired, dude. And then the owner of the business owns a whole bunch of stuff all over San Diego. And he charged me with making a certain amount of money a month on the P&Ls, right? At the end of the month, he wanted to see
what?
like profit and loss statements. He's like, at the end of 90 days, I want it to be this number. You're new to this position. That needs to be this number. So get me that number. I was like, all right, let's do it. And so I got him that number, retained it for a while, but that was me absorbing labor, just working
all
nonstop.
Yeah.
Workhorse. Yeah. And that was like the way we were going to do it until sales got to where they needed to be. But ultimately they did. And so like, I don't know, 10 months in, 11 months in, I was just like burnt. Yeah. I was like, dude, first of all, the late nights in a restaurant, I had worked part-time in coffee before, a couple cafes and stuff. And then, I was doing this GM thing, and I was just like, I want to go back to coffee. Just like from a lifestyle standpoint, I would find myself, going to the bar after work, and then who knows.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like,
yeah, dude,
restaurants, just a lot of drinking.
Health wise, it's just not good. And not only drinking, like you get into other shit like real quick if you're not careful. And fortunately, I never went down that path. But and was always just like, I don't like this. And so probably about a year in, I was like, all right, I'm done. Put in a 60-day notice or whatever, and called it quits. And he's still kind of a mentor of mine. But then I was like, all right, I want to do my own thing. I need to do my own thing at this point. I've proven to myself, I've proven to him that I can do this, so I can do this. Mm-hmm. So then it was just back to working in coffee for a little bit. I got turned down from spot after spot when just calling on available signs, right? Like, what's this going for? Probably 3 or 4 of the spots that I had checked out ultimately became cafes that we see now today, which is super frustrating. Really? But all just like the landlords being like, you're a 24-year-old kid with no money. What are you doing? You know what I mean? And
it's trying to make some more sense.
Yeah, dog, what the heck? You got to start somewhere. And so the building we're in, I called on it, and the landlord met me there like two hours later, and he was like, I get it. I see the fire in your eyes, let's do it. Yeah. And next thing I knew, I signed a 5-year lease. And then he's like the best.
You just renewed it, right?
We just renewed it, yeah, for another 5, which is a trip, right? So that was the longest commitment I had ever made at 24 years old.
So wait, are you 29?
25, yeah, about turned 30, which I'm freaking out about.
Don't. Your 30s are fucking dope, dude.
That's what I hear. 30's a new 20, right?
I'm 35, and I'll tell you what, I was freaking out about 30, and I've done more in my 30s and partied harder in my 30s than I ever did in my 20s. I'm just saying, 30s are fucking dope.
Yeah, yeah.
Although I'm like 5 years away from 40, so
right.
Fuck. But don't worry about it. You're gonna be fine.
Yeah. So he signed us a lease, and we were gonna do a cart situation, right? Mm-hmm. A mobile food facility inside. Do that whole thing like James or Still Mill, I think.
Still
right?
Mill, yeah, they're technically, it's a retail space.
Right.
So we had to do a mobile cart.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So we built that. I mean, I trenched that floor myself for floor plumbing. You know what I mean? Like, I rented the concrete cutter from Home Depot and hauled it away myself. But so now we're doing it, and now it's awesome. We're hitting our busiest months ever, and started a roasting company, and seeing the best margins ever. It's awesome, man.
Dude. Without knowing this about you, obviously.
Yeah, we've been homies, but we're not like, we don't know a lot of our past, right?
No, and that's, dude, to me, that's just, I can relate to what you're saying about like the authority aspect, and like, I heard this podcast the other day. I don't remember who it was, but it was like some smart person.
Sure.
And they were like, a person's environment does have an effect on them. And I do believe in that.
Yeah.
I think it does mold who you are, and like the way, like, like I grew up in the Bay Area, and the way I talk is like one thing that's been said to me multiple times by different people in different parts of the state are, you're white, you talk black, and you're Mexican. Or you're Mexican, you look white, you talk black. And it's like, you put whichever way you put it.
Sure.
But it was like, I grew up in the Bay Area, like, and hip hop is such a big part of the culture. Absolutely. And like the city life,
like, and a certain brand of hip hop too. Up there. Yeah. For sure.
And then like the city life, and like growing up in the East Bay, and like, Too Short, E40, and like Under Nicotina, and like when you go around the city, it's like you got to have a little bit of that, like a little bit of like almost like a chip on your shoulder, because it's like, yeah, like, fuck you. It's like, oh, hey, fuck you, kind of shit.
Yeah,
like,
no doubt.
But like that part I understand.
Yeah.
But there's also the part that this other guy said on this podcast I was listening to. He's like, a lot of your personality, regardless of your environment, is already ingrained in you when you are born.
Yeah, for sure.
And I actually talked to my friend Leon about this the other day, because we were talking about this, and she was like, yeah, my parents used to say that, like, when I was growing up, she was like, I would always tell them, like,
leave me alone. Like when she could figure out finally how to talk, she would just say, leave me alone. And she's like a very independent person. She's one of my fighters on my team, and she's one of the smartest people that I know to date.
Like she wasn't driven to be like that. She naturally wanted to be
like that. Yeah. And she's like over here grinding on her own, you know?
Yeah.
But like that was the thing is like I was always that way as well myself.
Yeah.
From a little kid, like the story that I always remember my mom was telling me, she's like, I always knew you were going to be independent because she said I had a it's okay. She always said I had a problem pooping when I was a baby.
God.
When I was a baby, okay?
Funny.
And she said that I would like I remember these onesies. She always used to put me in these onesies when I was a baby. And then when I was able to walk or like crawl at least, she said I couldn't poop and I would get so mad. And she said like I would like when I couldn't crawl, I would just like get so fucking pissed and I would just like just be crying and like throwing a fit, and then I would stop and then I would try it again and I would just like she would like, dude, you would get so mad at yourself.
So funny.
And
dude.
she would like, she said I would like kind of like push her off, like she would try to pick me up and let me do this. And she said once I was able to like when I had the pooping problem, I would like crawl into my room. She said I knew where it was, and I would go over to my my crib and I would like pull myself up, and she said I would put my head in between the bars in my crib and just sit there and like break out in sweats until I could poop.
You just had to focus. That was the problem.
So hard.
That's so funny.
And I when she told me that story, it made me like think about just like how I am throughout my entire life. Like I get so upset at myself, and I'm the hardest person on myself.
For sure, dude.
And I have the biggest problem with authority. Yeah. Like, who the fuck are you to tell me what to do, son? Like, nah. Yeah. Like, I only take orders from like my mom, and that's kind of it for family. And then like, if you're my homie, like if I'm working with the collective good, because we're working towards a common goal.
Yeah, that's different.
100%.
Sure.
But like, I got to a point just like you where I was like, nah, son.
Yeah.
The authority shit, when people try to flex on me because they're like a manager, I was like, nah.
Yeah,
I was like, no. See what, like how you're talking to me right now?
Yeah, because it's like way more difficult to deal with that than to go through the adversity of being, as much as we both hate it, an entrepreneur. Like I would rather deal with the bullshit on my own. I don't need you. I don't need to go. Yeah, no.
I don't need this middleman fucking telling me about this bullshit.
You're causing some issues here, and I just would rather deal with my own issues.
Dude, it's so funny. You know, shout out my homie Jason, like Jason Bush. Okay. That he was. So I had two mentors for roasting coffee. I had, which was honestly the best thing that probably could have ever happened. It was Steve Rail. He's the owner of Zoom Bar Coffee and Tea. And then I had Jason Bush. And Jason, and they are complete opposites. I'm talking like 180 at like on the different side of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's great.
Steve, he would leave in the middle of the day to go surfing. 9 o'clock every day. He's like, I'm going surfing. And it's like, okay. And he'd be back by 11.
Wow.
So it's like, that was his time.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah, that was his time.
Wow.
But Jason, and like, you know, he'd been roasting. He started everything. And I asked so many questions all the time.
Yeah.
And I just be like, Steve, why do you do this? Steve, why do you do this? So he's like, and sometimes he would kind of describe it. And then sometimes he would just look at me and he'd just be like, throw up his hands. And he'd be like, I don't know, Connell, that's how I was taught.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And then you go to Jason. And Jason was completely like a Scott Rao, Joe Morocco, fucking science.
Right.
Like the Maillard reaction. We need like the flick. We need like, here's the first crack. Here's this. Yeah. Here's the beam probe. This is placed here. Here's the dampers, the air settings. Boom, boom, boom. And so it was like, but Jason, with that being said, had such a serious like outlook and approach to roasting that was very off-putting to me. Because to me, the one thing with roasting is like, bro, you don't need to be a dick about roasting.
For sure.
It's like, yo, we're all doing this.
Right.
And you might have your way and I have my way. But at the end of the day, we're both roasters and we both love coffee.
For sure.
So you don't need to be a dick.
I mean, I feel like even that gets like in the cafe, right? With espresso. Same thing. Like, yeah.
100%.
It's all through the line.
It's through the line. But
going back to the thing about authority is like Jason, I was shadowing him. They wouldn't even let me touch the roaster. I had to shadow him. Oh. And which is fine.
Yeah.
And so, but like, I don't know, we're a couple weeks, maybe a month or 2 months in, and I'm shadowing Jason, and I'm just not getting it. And that's fine. Right. It wasn't clicking. Like what he was explaining to me, I didn't understand how he was explaining it to me. And he had dropped a batch, and I'm like, well, I don't even remember what I was saying. I was like saying something, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, he kind of snapped on me. And he was giving me like a shitload of attitude. And I was like, well, why are you being like this? And he's like, why aren't you getting it?
Right.
And I was like, are you serious? And I was like, I looked at him and I was like, bro, if you ever talk to me like that again, we're going to have a fucking problem. And like, bro, like I'm so against people talking to me like down like that. Like, because I said this earlier this week to one of my homies. It's like, if I'm being a dick to you, it's because you deserve it. I'm okay with being an asshole, and I'm the type of person that's okay to tell you fuck you.
Yeah.
But like, other than that, if we're not to that point, we're gonna be Gucci, baby. Like, it's all good. But you get me to that point, then it's fuck you.
Right.
So I was like, if you ever talk to me like that again, we're gonna have a fucking problem. Ooh. And he looked at me, and I was 30, and he was 36, and he was like, do you want to go outside? And I was like, oh yeah, I want to go outside. You want to talk about this? And he's like, yeah, let's go talk about this. And I was like, all right, cool. And he threw the roaster into fucking like control, like cruise control or whatever it was, like into control. So like it goes into cruise. And I walked right outside. I fucking walked outside and I stood there like this. And he smokes mad cigarettes. I don't know if he smokes anymore, but at the time he was smoking mad cigarettes. And we went out and we got away from the cafe. And he's like, "What's your fucking problem?" I was like, "What's your fucking problem, bro?" I was like, "You're gonna fucking talk to me like I'm a fucking idiot. I don't understand what the fuck you're saying."
Right.
And he was so livid. He was chain smoking cigarettes, and he had these like aviators on, and he was shaking. His hand was shaking because he knew he wanted to lay into me too. Yeah. But he couldn't. Damn. And so I'm just fucking right back at him, and he's going back and forth with me, and then we're just standing there, and I'm like, bro, I want to learn how to roast, and I want to learn how to do this right. So if you fucking talk to me like I'm a fucking idiot is not chill, because I'm not a fucking idiot, bro. I was like, I went to Penn State, dick. I was like, you fuck. Like, and he was standing there, and Shay, the owner of Steel Mill, was walking back and forth, and he's like, look, he's
ready to watch you.
Just watching, and then like, we ended up like squashing it, and it was like, can we hug it out? And I'm like, yeah, we can hug it out, fool, but just don't talk to me like sideways, bro. Like, talk to me like a fucking human. Right. Like, goddamn, bro. Yeah. And then we ended up being cool. We never beefed again after that. That's I was there for like 2.5 years. Yeah. But I remember Shay. That's funny. Shay was like, dude, what happened with you and Jason? I was like, I told that fool what's up, bro. Yeah, don't fucking talk to me like that. Like,
funny, dude. Yeah, that was a trip.
I don't know, dude. Like that authority shit. Like,
yeah, I'm with you.
I just can't do it. Like,
I do this thing. I just like shut down, and everybody knows. They're like, don't talk to him. Yeah. You know?
Like, yeah. I know about that too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny, man.
But see, I'm not going to refer to myself in the third person, but that was just how I was in the past.
Yeah.
I think definitely, like, you know, I had a friend. Oh, well, it's Liav. Liav fucking told me once, like, she saw me kind of go through, like, she saw me before my divorce, and then she saw me go through the divorce, and she seen me after. And one thing she said to me one time, a couple years ago, she was like, "You're a lot nicer now." Yeah. And I was like, "Why do you say that?" And she's like, "Before, you used to take things so seriously, and you also were like, I wasn't a dick, but I definitely was like, no, it's this way.
Sure.
And this is the way it's going to be."
For sure.
Once I got into my role of like head roaster and like running the cafe and like creating menus and doing this thing, because I was so passionate about it.
For sure. I feel that.
But now, after going through one of the hardest things that I've ever gone through in my life, I will say the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life, it was the most humbling experience. And I'm very thankful for the experience, because it definitely, like, again, to say I was humbled.
Yeah.
I mean, even to say I was humbled is an understatement.
I was going to say, I think a lot of people throw around that word and like don't really like me. You know what I mean? Like, it's been diluted.
Yeah.
I feel that. Same with entrepreneur. It's the same shit.
I mean,
but, yeah.
It was.
No, I got you.
It was the most humbling experience in the sense where, like, after that, I didn't give a fuck anymore. I was just like, you know what? It's coffee.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, does the coffee taste good?
Right.
Are you a good person?
Sure.
And are you making sure that the people that you're serving understand it? And with that being said,
and are happy with it,
dude. With that being said, you know, as much shit as I talk and like, as much as I am like a fuck you type of person, I am very much a loving person at the same time. And I'm very empathetic.
Well, because like it sounds like we're a lot alike in the sense that you're like that because you want everyone to be on the same page. Like we can all be better at all of this. The coffee can taste better if you cared more. We can have a better time if you went harder, you know? Like, if you hustled harder, we can party harder. Like,
but
I got you, dog.
Yes, I fuck with that, but this is the thing that I've, in the last year with COVID, especially in the last year with starting my own brand and then hopping on, like, the steel mill team, what's become more important to me is not even that.
Yeah.
To me, what's become more important is community. And, like, I don't want this to sound, like, cliche, but what's become more important is seeing the happiness and not just the community, but within your own team.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I never go to work at Steel Mill bummed.
Yeah.
I love my team.
Yeah.
Like Anna, Little C, Giles, like Shay, Riley. Like every time I see them, I just get so happy. And what makes me even more happy is that like I'm in a very unique spot, and I know you can relate. Is that like I go roast Steel Mill's coffee. I purchase the green, you know, we're scooping it, you're roasting it, you take it back to the shop, and then I get to go do a bar shift.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm above doing bar shifts. I don't think I'm above doing dishes. I'm a part of that team, and I want to do it. And the best part is when you're pulling a shot, and then you get to do some buttery ass latte art, and you fucking boom, boom, boom. And then like one thing, you know, going back to what we were talking about is like telling people you're the owner or like, you know, a roaster. I love telling people I'm the roaster.
Yeah.
Because when they want to talk about coffee, I'm a one-stop shop. Like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to talk about, right?
Yeah.
And for me, the one thing that shifted a lot, especially since going through what I went through, is that I've realized wholeheartedly that what makes me the happiest in my life is coffee.
Yeah.
And
it's huge.
Creating that experience for people. And when people like sip that cup of coffee, that's me, bro. That's and
I feel that.
That's not selfish. It's like I think the reason my coffee tastes so good is because of the fact that I do it with love, and I do it with like all of me.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I want that piece to come across. Like
right.
I want you to feel that. And it's like that shit to me is like I'm not trying to blow smoke. Like this is this is legit. Like when I'm roasting the coffee, I'm so focused on it because I'm like, this is me on a fucking coffee bean, and then when I'm pulling that shot and pouring that latte art, and it's like giving it to the customer, and they're like, "Damn, it's the best coffee I've ever had." It's like
incredible.
It's the best,
dude. I know. I don't know. I'm trying to work through it right now. Like it's almost what is it called? Imposter syndrome, where it's like you know you do shit good, you put everything into it, and then people enjoy it, and the numbers are there, and for some reason you just like cringe about it. And that is what I go through. And so like our GM Kat, shout out to Kat, she is constantly like, Will, just like, this is awesome. Like you've created something really cool. What's your deal? And it's just never good enough for me.
Always.
And so that's the disconnect of it all for me is like, it's just not good enough. I can't be proud of it because it's not good enough. And it's never going to be. And that's what kind of drives me. But I don't know. I'm learning to accept it. Like when people have been coming in the shop, we just remodeled inside and finally reopened, and it was literally just me, with the exception of electrician, and like I patched all those holes, I painted everything, I put up the wainscoting, and I've fucking everything. And so people are commenting, like, we've been closed for a year. We reopened with this new coffee brand and a new cafe, basically. And we're serving stuff in ceramic and porcelain again and glassware. And I'm super picky about all that shit and how it's all served. And people know I'm the owner. Some our OG regulars know I'm the owner. And so they'll be like, dude, Will, it looks great in here. Good job. Like, you happy to be open, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, don't tell me good job. I don't know why. And
it's like that bad.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Like I will get weird about it. Dude, I don't want compliments.
Can I 1 second? Alexa, turn on the living room light.
Hey, that's amazing.
Shout out Ray for fucking setting that thing up.
Hell yeah.
One thing, if you're open to some advice,
Yeah,
I'd really like to help you with this.
Yeah, hit me.
I can relate a lot to the imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Whether it was
I only learned that term like a couple again because of Kat. She's like, "Do you know what imposter syndrome
Yep.
is?"
No, it's a very real thing.
Yeah,
it's a
no
very
doubt.
real thing. I had that a lot, and also self-sabotaging when I was skateboarding for like a living and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
That was a big thing for me because I was a kid from Fremont, which was like the Bay Area, but nothing was coming out of Fremont. And then all of a sudden I came to LA and like I was kicking it with the right people, and I was doing these things, and I was like, I could be standing there right next to Mikey Taylor or Paul Rodriguez and like these fucking big name skateboarders, and I'm homies with them, smoking blunts with them, skating with them, and yet I'm like, what? Like, what the fuck? Like, who the fuck am I? Because I would go back to Fremont, and I'm like, the fuck, And it's like, but then it was that, and then I got into fucking coffee roasting, and then I would like see these people, and it was just like, the company that I worked for before this all happened, honestly, again, was a huge proving ground for me because I had to learn on the fly with a lot of coffees that I never fucking had to work with. And I didn't understand why people in two different cafes were saying this is the best coffee and this, that, and this, and da-da-da-da. I was like, I don't get it. Like, it's not even good or this, that, or this. But then I found my rhythm. Right. And then, going through the pandemic, I somehow along the lines forgot about it, but I was still confident in my head. So I was way more like boasting, like peacocking. Sure. But at the same time, it was just more of like a false flag. Like it was like, I'm confident. But inside I'm like, oh, I suck. Like, what the fuck? These people think I'm good, but I'm not good. Kind of thing. And then it's like, you just have to fucking like Nipsey said, like, I jumped in the deep end, bleep without a life jacket. And then it's like, it's meaning like it's like sink or swim, right? Sure. Like you just have to jump in and like do these things. But what I've realized with the imposter syndrome at the end of the day is like, bro, you're creating the experience. You are an individual that are like you are creative, and that is one term I don't really like either. But like, I do like it at the same time.
I know. I feel that too.
Dude,
like when people are like, "This is so unique," I'm like, I don't want to hear that.
No. This is the thing, though. This is where I think why I wanted to say this, because you saying that is what I think a lot. Mm-hmm. And the term creative, again, this one I'm like kind of okay with, but because you're very much an individual that like you had an idea in your head and you put it into reality. You know what I mean? You took what you saw in your head and that you knew was going to be fucking dope, and you made it a fucking reality. And to me, as a person who did the same thing and still continues to do the same thing, when I make my edits for like my fighters or something, like I have a song and I'll hear the song and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be Leo's song, or oh my God, it's going to be Tyler's song, or oh my God, it's going to be David's song. And it's like, or I'm going to have like, I was super stoned one night and I heard a song and I was like, yo, I'm going to do the 420 video that I had with Brandon, like, half naked and shit. Yeah. So it's like, these things are ideas that I literally have come into my head, and I literally am able to get it out and put it into fruition. Yeah. I feel the same way about the imposter thing, but I think to curb that is to just realize that you're a unique individual in the sense that you're able to take the ideas that you see in your head and to put them into reality. And you can not only do that, but you can make money off that. For sure. And you create, and like more importantly, and this might sound stupid to some people, but more importantly than the money, you're able to create a community, and you're able to create a sense of, or not even a sense of, but you're able to create a sense of community, but you're also able to create an experience that people want to be a part of.
No doubt.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I think, I don't know. I mean, like it's like everyone has ideas, right? There's a million.
It's just laundry, don't worry about it. Yeah.
There's a million like people have ideas every day, right? But they don't execute.
No.
And yeah, that is the difference. And that, like, going back to hustle, right? Like, you have to hustle. You have
to hustle.
Like, if you want something to come back, or if you want to create something, like, yeah, and so, yeah, no, that's a good point. It's like, I've built this thing that's survived 5 years, a pandemic, a pushback marriage, a failed business partnership, a lawsuit, being on the east side of town that no one knows about. Like, is it La Mesa? Is it City Heights? Who knows, right? Like, all of the things. You know what's so funny, too? And this is just further proof. It's like, okay, we've had our busiest months ever through the pandemic, making more, like, I was looking at my journal the other day. You ever go back in your journal and you're just like, oh, shit, yeah, that was my sales goals, and we've, like, exceeded that months ago. Like, I'm way past what I even, just, like, kind of manifesting, right? Whatever. And then, like, we take our seasonal drinks really heavy, and we always do special glassware for all of them. Like, we'll source out specific glassware for specific drinks. We're like one of the few cafes in San Diego that do that, and I think probably one of the first. And then we'll come up with a drink, and, like, all of a sudden a bunch of people will do something very similar. And I don't know what that, what that means or whatever. I probably shouldn't read into it. But we started doing this coconut drink for summer. And I was like, literally, I was like, let's just do an easy, we were developing our menu. And I was like, let's just do a couple, like, seasonal summer bangers that will be good. Let's do a pina colada. So we soak pineapples in cold brew, like, while it's steeping. And then we make this dope coconut cream, and it's super good. And then all of a sudden there's multiple cafes literally after us in San Diego that are all doing coconut things. And I don't know. Like, literally, I didn't see anyone doing it. Maybe other people did, like, cool coconut drinks, but I don't know. And so, like I got it. Regardless if I'm jacking it or they're jacking it from somebody else, we're all, like, kind of tuned in here, right? So that is a sign that we're doing something relevant and cool, and the numbers support it. And again, there's really no need to feel like that. Like, I'm never going to do something good enough, because we're fucking doing it.
You're all feeding off each other.
For sure.
But this is also, like, goes back.
Like, yeah, like, imposter syndrome wise, like, all signs point to no, you are doing it. You've built that community.
You're already
the numbers are there.
Yeah.
Been doing it. And so I shouldn't feel like that. But yeah, it's part of it.
Well, this is the thing too, this is a good segue, I think, into this part, is like, San Diego is the last city, the major city in California, in my opinion, that is not blowing up for coffee yet. But we are bubbling.
Sure.
Like, if you've ever boiled a fucking pot of hot water, it's like that mellow time. And like, even 5 years ago when, like, I got into, or no, almost 6 years ago now, when I got into coffee, and, like, I met Jay and I met Siri Cimarron and all them, they were the same cast I'm still fucking with now. And now everybody's either roasting, or, like, Siri Cimarron's the fucking director of coffee, and this, that,
Sick.
and this.
Hell yeah, dude.
All the homies are killing it, right? And it's like, we were, like, it was just still water.
Sure.
And now it's like, I was talking to Siri about this the other day. I went and had a drink with her and Sophie. I was in Oregon, not even a month ago, like maybe 3 weeks ago now. And I'm such a fucking coffee nerd, I feel like. It's just like, I grabbed a couple bags of Caffeine and Green, and I grabbed the rental car that my pops had rented, and my pops was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay here. All right, cool. We were staying in Redmond, Oregon, which is bumfuck central, nowhere. It's like 20 minutes from Bend. I drove 20 minutes into Bend. I went and found local coffee roasters, and I fucking took my coffee bags, and I literally just waited in line, and I went up to the coffee roasters. I was like, hey, what's up, guys? Like, my name's Kano. I'm a coffee roaster from San Diego. I just wanted to drop off a coffee bag, and, like, I just wanted to check out your roaster, if that's cool. Yeah. And they were like, what? And I was like, they were like, San Diego? And they were like, oh, you guys have a good coffee scene now. Like, you guys are blowing up. And it's like, fuck yeah. Yeah. It's like, you go to bumfuck nowhere, but the coffee people who are coffee people know. Yeah. And so, and before, nobody knew about that shit. And now it's like, we're about to blow, you know? Yeah, I feel that. And there's new companies, and there's new people popping up, but at the same time, there's still, like, you kind of know everybody in the area that is doing what they're doing. Right. You know what I mean? Right. So it's a very exciting time, and it's a very pivotal time, I would think, in San Diego's coffee scene, because, like, there's not going to be too much longer, I feel like, within maybe the next 5 years before, like, there will probably be a coffee shop that'll pop up next to yours. Sure. Or something like that. But it's like, dude, I was in Seoul, South Korea I don't know. Within the last 5 years, I was there. I don't remember when, but I was there, and to me, it was crazy because that country's so small, right, geographically and just size-wise. But there's a cafe like every couple hundred feet, and they all have something different, like coffee and hot dogs, coffee and beer, coffee and this, like, and for the most part, there's not all roasters. They're they're buying coffee from other people, but they're all just serving coffee. And the Korean culture, they get obsessed. And that's not trying to be like, stereotyping. It's just like when you're there, you see it. And so it's like, oh, damn. And I was thinking about it. I was like, I remember thinking at the time walking down those streets, like, San Diego's so big and there's so many roasters, but there's not.
Dude, for 100%, dog. Like, even scouting locations, you're like, all right, where am I near? Who am I near? And it's like, oh, they're doing their thing, but that's like kind of different. What if we did this? And like, oh, like I feel that like San Diego's the 9th biggest city in America.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of neighborhoods that don't have any cafes.
Nope.
There's,
there's
it's crazy.
It's very interesting too, because it's like, just the other day, Liav again.
Yeah.
She texted me. She was like, "Hey, do you know any good coffee shops in Kearney Mesa?" And I was like, "There's nothing over there. There's literally
But there's
nothing.
so many people.
There's so many people, and there's no cafes over there that are like. It's a bunch of
legit.
boba.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, okay, but then it's like Miramar. You got Jaunt, which I've been trying to like Jimmy Silva. He's the owner. We've been going back and forth, and we're trying to get him on here, but he just had a baby. So it's like, I was like, you know what? When you're ready, come on the show. You're always welcome. But it's like he's, I think, maybe the only roaster over in Miramar.
Which is crazy because it's.
But that's where all the beer is.
I know, yeah.
So it's like, dude, right there.
For sure.
Kearney Mesa. There's Chula Vista.
Yeah.
Like, there's South Bay. It's like a lot of the roasters are centered here in North Park.
Right, sure.
Sorrento Valley, Cardiff, Encinitas. It's like, but there's pockets that are still...
Dude, and I think about that, like, I don't know what cafes in North Park do. I mean, I have an idea, just given, like, homies. But, like, we're doing way better than a lot of them. And we're not in a cool, relevant neighborhood, But, like, if we're talking about...
community aspect.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. Not only that, but, like, seeing a void in a community, right? Like, geographic community. Like, literally, there was nothing over there. And so we put a shop there. And all the people walk, and we've built that community now. And then additionally, you got the coffee people traveling out.
Yep.
You roast? Sick. I'm going to come support that, talk about coffee, et cetera, et cetera. But, dude, there's a lot of empty space in San Diego.
There is. It's a lot of empty space. And what's interesting is that, like, I don't know how you feel about this, but, like, for me, because my business is mainly based around roasting, it's like, like, I remember the feeling is like, I'm not going to get any customers. Like, fucking, like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. And then before I know it, it's like I have, like, 2 private labels. And I have, like, people like Sophie, or I have this, and I have that. And it's just like, you just need to get the ball rolling.
That's it, dude.
That's all you fucking
build it,
need.
and they will come, right?
Dude, because it's like, whoa. I just had a really weird thought. My high school quote was like, I was just about to say it. It was like, the proof is in the fucking pudding. And that was my high school senior quote. Like, when we were like in my senior quote, it was like, the proof is in the pudding. Funny. And the only reason I put that is because I had this poster that was on my room, and it was this dude doing like a backside flip over this like huge gap. And I looked at it every day, and I was like, it was called The Proof is in the Pudding Tour. And it was a Santa Cruz skateboards. And I remember just looking at that every day. And I was like, I remember asking my mom, I was like, what does that even mean? And she was like, it just means like when you're good, it shows.
Yeah,
and like,
for sure.
you don't need to
for
fucking
sure.
tell people.
For sure.
The people are going to find out, and they're going to fucking know.
Right.
And so it's like, at the same time though, it's like, what's interesting is like one thing, especially with like Instagram today, it's like Instagram has just become like this fucking self-promotion type shit.
Yeah.
And I realize this a lot, and especially having my own brand, and then also like being so down for Steel Mill. Every chance I get, I'll promote Steel Mill. Every chance I get, I'll promote Caffeine and Green. And I remember I battled this thought process of like, should I just keep being like all rah, like, you know, like, oh, whatever. But at the end of the day, I remember thinking is like, I saw this quote because this is probably going to sound really weird because I've told this to other people and they think it's really weird. For about a half hour every day, I listen to motivational speeches.
Okay.
Every day.
Yeah.
In my routine. That's like, I'm not big on routine, but one thing that a lot of the motivational speakers that I listen to, they say like, you need to have a routine that you can repeat every day. So the one routine that I do repeat every day is like when I get up, regardless of what I'm doing, like I'll put my headphones in because I don't want to bother my roommate, or if he's not here, I'll just put it out loud. But I'll listen to like these motivational speeches, and I get like amped up, meaning like, yo, you gotta fucking do this. Like you're fucking grinding, you're doing this shit. And the one thing that a couple of motivational speakers that I've heard say is like, nobody else is going to promote you but you. At the end of the day, like, yes, you have your support system, and yes, you have your friends, your loyal friends who are going to do it, but you can't rely on them for everything.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to be your biggest fan.
For sure.
And one thing, it's like, I don't even think about it anymore. Like, it's like, yo, this is what I'm doing. This is who I am. This is me. Yeah. Caffeine and green is not like an identity for me. Caffeine and green is me. Like, that's, when people look at that, I want them to look and be like, I think of gold teeth. I think of fucking fighters. Oh, yeah. I think of skateboarding. I think of Kano. Like, I think about, like, I don't mean to refer to myself in third person, but it's like, I want people to think about all of that shit. And it's like, so what? You don't like it? Don't fucking follow me then. Mm-hmm. Yeah, at me all you want. Like, whatever you do. But like, at the same time, and even if you're hating on me, hate on me more because you're still talking about me. That's it. So like, it's like, or talking about the company. Like, at the same time, it's just like, you have to be your biggest fan. You have to believe in yourself so fucking hard and have so much fucking faith in yourself that it's like, I don't know, bro. Like, it's,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I feel it. I feel like I went through a phase like that, and I'm out of it a little bit. Not so much like 30 minutes of motivational speeches, but a lot of podcasts, even still like self-help-ish stuff. But I think I got to a point where it's more like no one's gonna do it. Period. And like, you know that
nobody,
like, you know,
nobody.
Like, you have the brand in your head, or you got the product in your head, whatever, and you're the only one that can make that happen. So you got to do it. Like, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Nobody's going to see how you see it.
Nope.
You can describe it
for sure
all you want, but like, that's what I was saying. Like, this is why you shouldn't have that imposter syndrome.
Right. And that's like, literally like circling back to it. I guess that's a great realization I kind of just had, was like going back to our GM Kat. She's always just like, dude, you're the one coming up with everything, right? Like, literally, you got to be proud of this. What are you talking about?
If you're not hyped on your own shit, who else is going to be hyped on it?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, like, I'm hyped enough to let people judge it, right? Like, I remodeled the shop myself, and people are coming in. That's like putting a record out, right? It's like people are going to receive it and make judgments accordingly, you know? And if you're not going to receive compliments well, then just like, why are you doing it, period?
Do you need another beer?
I'm down, yeah. Okay. Let's finish it off.
Dude, I definitely want to touch on that. Do you like Korn?
Korn?
The band?
I never got super into Korn, to be honest. I think maybe that's my high school in Hemet was like were not the coolest people to be around.
I was super into Korn.
Like non-ironically.
Non-ironically, no. And like,
I mean, in retrospect, they're legendary.
They're
right?
super
no,
legendary,
yeah, no
right?
doubt, no doubt. Yeah.
But like the reason I bring this up is because the record thing.
Sure.
There was one thing I'm not big on like authority, like we were talking about, and I'm not big on other people's opinions. If you're like, I fucking hate that record,
straight up,
the first thing I'm gonna do is go listen to that record.
Right. I feel that,
dude. I want to judge it myself.
There's this lyric from a band I've been listening to a lot lately, but it's like a hardcore, like rap, like hard rap, core. I don't know what you call it,
like heavy metal rap.
Yeah, but the lyric is, keep it 2 cents if you ain't gambling. And so that's where I'm like, don't give me your opinions unless you're doing it too. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, facts.
That's
fucking
it.
Facts, bro.
Keep it 2 cents if you ain't gambling. Like, I don't want your opinion unless you're gonna go do it yourself, and then we can judge each other. You know what I mean?
was gonna say, like, I agree
like, bro,
with that.
you suck at skating. I don't skate.
Yeah,
you know,
it's like-
imagine like, bro, you don't have a clue, dog.
You don't have an understanding of what it is to do this.
I'm not even
right?
gonna listen to
Like,
you.
if somebody's like, your coffee sucks, I'd be like, okay,
Let's talk
do
about
you
this.
actually, have you ever worked in coffee? Do you understand what it is to do this?
For sure.
Then shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I would never say that, but in
Right,
my
of
head,
course.
that's what I'm saying. With a smile.
Right.
But like, the reason I bring up Korn is because like this was the first time in my life that like I'd ever like I got super into them. Like I started off with their third album, which was like Follow the Leader.
Okay.
My first actual concert. It was Rob Zombie and Korn.
Oh, that's
It was
incredible,
fucking dope.
dude.
It was at Oracle Arena. And my
Oh
brother
my
took me for my
God.
13th birthday. But I went back to their first album, and it was I think just a self-titled album. And it was amazing. And they had all these crazy songs, and I just was like, wow, this is nuts. But then all my friends who got into Korn were like, don't listen to their second album, Life is Peachy, because it fucking sucks. And I was just thinking, like, the first thing I did is I went to Tower Records and I fucking bought Life is Peachy.
Yeah.
And I listened to it, and I remember thinking, like, I was like, nah, it's not bad. And, like, I made it through it because I had Adidas on it. Like, do you ever hear that song? Like, all day, I dream about sex is all day. Like,
Yeah,
it was like a
probably,
fucking
yeah.
acronym, right?
Yeah, right,
And, like,
right.
so, and then I listened to a couple other songs, and I made it through the album, and I was like, damn, that album did suck. Like, it's the only album like I never got into. It was like their first album was great, their third album was great, the Issues album was good, and then I think I kind of got out of it. Like I got into like more heavy shit, which is like Slipknot or something like that. Like, dude, I'm still in Slipknot. I don't give a
Damn.
fuck. I still fuck with Slipknot, dude. When I'm in the gym, bro, I have a Slipknot playlist.
Dude,
I'm not
this
even
is-
fucking
That's
with you.
incredible.
Dude.
You're a diverse individual.
Oh,
Connor.
dude, I'm not even kidding you. I will show you right now. Like, dude,
I believe it, dog.
dude. So, wait, hold on. I'm gonna show you my fucking. Wait, where is it? I'm gonna show you where
let
is
me
it. How do
see
you
these
search
guys,
this?
dude.
Okay, Slipknot. Yeah, like in my fucking Slipknot playlist.
Oh my
And it's like
Lord. This
sick. I listen, but then you go through it, and I have all my favorite songs. But then I have like Slayer and shit. Like,
Rain and Blood, man.
dude,
Oh
my
God.
brother raised me on fucking heavy metal.
Hell yeah.
My dad was into like Motown.
Okay.
And like mariachi music
Sure.
and shit. My mom was into like Jim Croce, John Denver, Simon
Croce
and
from San Diego.
Garfunkel. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
The Croce's restaurant.
Yeah.
And like, dude, she like,
Right, so some
Prince-
singer songwriter. Oh,
Oh,
dude,
dude.
incredible.
Oh, I fuck with Prince
Yeah,
tough.
no doubt.
And then for me, I was into hip hop and rap because MC Hammer lived in Fremont.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like his daughter was in my second grade class.
No way.
Yeah. You want to hear some gangster shit my mom did?
Oh, no.
Dude, I pissed my mom off so bad. His daughter was in my second grade class, and for her birthday, he had this huge house on the hill in Fremont, and for her birthday, she invited the entire class to their house for a party.
no.
And I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I don't remember, but I remember the car ride up. My mom was like, if you don't fucking stop doing what you're doing, I'm not going to let you go to the party. And I was like, whatever, Simpson Hammer, blah, blah, blah. My mom drove me up to the fucking gate. And she's like, you're not going. And she turned the car around and took me home. I was the only kid who didn't go to MC Hammer's house.
Oh, my God.
So pissed. I never fucked with my mom after that.
Again, shout out to moms.
Shout out to moms all day. Like I
Taught you a lesson.
She
You
did.
never forgot it.
to this day, I wish I could have gone. Like everybody was talking about it when we went back to school. Like Connor, where were you? I was
Also
like,
might have been the stem of some authority issues you have.
I mean, quite possibly.
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
That's
But
funny,
it's like-
dude. Wow.
Dude. Oh, one thing I did want to ask you though, before I forget.
Yeah.
We talked about field trip.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you name Scrimshaw, and why is there a whale?
Yeah, I had a feeling that was coming.
I wanted to know. I was like, the whale. What's the deal with the whale?
So, all right. So, I opened the business with a partner, right? And we had a long list of names. And so, Scrimshaw is like a art form from like the whaling industry hundreds of years ago, right? Like,
Is it really?
yeah. So basically, it's like when carving into like whalebone or bone and whittling. So ultimately, it was like I don't know if it's like Old English or Gaelic or something. It's slang for wasting time. So
Scrimshaw is?
yeah. So basically, when these like sailors would be on these month-long, journeys hunting whales or whatever for oil, right? They would literally just carve into bone to pass the time, like from port to port.
Whoa.
Which would be like days or weeks at a time. And so this whole form of art came about called Scrimshaw. And it just means to waste time. And so we were like, well, I kind of like that, like in terms of a cafe, like come kick it. And so, and then we were talking about like icons, logos and stuff. And I was like, we could make a really cool little character, you know, that's identifiable and people would know it, and we could make it cute and approachable and playful, because we didn't really want to do the pretentious coffee thing, which was pretty popular in 2017, right? Like, we got to be approachable. We're in this neighborhood. It's not North Park or Little Italy or something, so it's not like people get espresso in the mornings and or have been introduced to that style of coffee. So let's be a cafe with like a minimalist menu and a, you know, whatever, but still be super friendly. So the Whale is kind of like, with Scrimshaw, the nautical thing, and wasting time, and that was kind of the crux of it. And then our branding person just kind of crushed it with the logo, and it kind of just has lasted the last 5 years. And so we're actually in the middle of I don't have my laptop, but we're actually in the middle of rebranding. I was going to show you the kind of refresh we got going, but our 4th year is in mid or late August. So we're doing a whole brand refresh. Still going to be Scrim. Still going to have a whale, but the whale's not going to be like front seat logo anymore.
Okay.
And,
okay.
Yeah, so again, I opened with a partner, and the shop really is a culmination of both of us. We worked really well together. I think I'm kind of, from the hustle standpoint, kind of the one that really drove it, like got shit done. Like, let's go. And he was definitely... you know, when I was having a bad day, he would be the median between employees and like whatever.
Okay.
Like he was just very much more of the people person. Not that I'm not, but like,
well, you've learned to be now.
100. I had to, dude. Same with you
know,
in the pandemic that we were just talking about.
I completely understand what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Turn on the smile and the boyish charm. So like, yeah. So we really created the shop together. And we've just grown out of that since he's stepped away. Mm-hmm. And we've been through all the adversity we've been through. So the brand, as it stood pre-pandemic especially, just doesn't really apply anymore. With the logo, with the color scheme, with like the simple approachability, playfulness. So we're a little edgier now, and we've found our own identity. So we're refreshing the brand. But so that's why the roasting side had to change from to not be Scrimshaw Coffee Roasters. That just wasn't going to work. And then from like a marketability standpoint, we just wanted something easier to say. Didn't want the whole story. Like, people ask all the time, what does Scrimshaw mean? And I'm just like tired of answering every other customer that does that. And so literally at the shop, this is a Caffeine and Green exclusive here. At the shop, we tell people it's a family name. So we don't have to have a whole spiel. It's like, oh, it's like the name. It's like the surname of the owner's grandpa or something like that.
Oh my
God. Because literally, there is a story behind it. But like, the logo is just a logo. Like, you don't ask why Carl's Jr. has a little star happy face, right? It's just Carl's Jr. You don't ask why McDonald's has golden arches. It's just like, that's been their thing. Like, why does everything have to have a story? I don't, just accept it. You know what I mean?
Branding, right? That's branding fucking 101.
It's straight up. It is. And people relate to it, and it's cute and whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I think people would be pissed. Like, we had the whale on the wall, huge.
Oh, yeah. I remember the whale.
And I painted over it. And I posted about it on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw
on
that.
The shop's Instagram.
I saw that.
And people have, like, freaked out about it. Because they relate to this cute little character that's kind of been watching. He's the watchful eyes of the shop. This, like, you know, it's like the Mona Lisa smile. It's just like this kind of cute little whale thing that just like watches over the shop, and we painted over it, and people are like, what? What's happening? Freaking out. I'm like, dude,
people don't like change.
Just grow up, dog. We're like, you know what I mean? So like, it's fine. But yeah, so that's the story of Scrimshaw and the whale. The whale's name is Vern. I don't remember where we came up with that name, but that's his name. And Vern the whale. And so maybe that's also part of it, is like he has a name, so people freak out, right?
Do people know this?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. I don't know. Yeah.
Just like maybe some locals.
Yeah. Okay. Some extra regulars. But no, it's just a matter of changing. You just want to refresh stuff here and there, and you don't necessarily relate to something you did 5 years ago all the time, right? So we grew up a bit, and we're not the coffee shop that we started at all. And so, yeah, that was a big part of it.
And I mean, you're definitely ahead of the game when it comes to this, like an experience-wise for me. I've only been in the game. I'm coming up. July 20th was the day that I incorporated and like made an LLC for CNG.
Hell yeah.
Caffeine and Green was a podcast going on 3 years now, but the company itself, July 20th is like the year incorporation date.
Nice.
But 10/1, it will be a year.
Okay.
But one thing I wanted to ask you, as you're 4 years into this.
Yeah.
4 years.
Yeah, 4.5.
4.5
Plus,
years.
it took a year to open, so
Okay,
really,
so five and a
I
half.
had quit my job, and I was driving for Uber like 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. and then went and built out from 10 a.m. to like 10 p.m.
Dope.
And then that's how I like paid rent while we were building out the shop for a year. Yes. So, anyways.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, I love that.
Yeah.
That being said, is like
So yeah, 5.5.
Has it gone by in a blink?
Yeah, it has, but like also I think I can look back on it and see very specific steps and like growth periods and name a laundry list of events that have happened that allow myself to slow it down. I think I was talking to my wife about this recently actually, where I was like, I've made a conscious effort, especially through the pandemic, to think about through the day, because everyone by the end of the day, they're like, oh, time just went by so fast. This week went by so fast. I've made a conscious effort to literally at points throughout the day be like, what have I done this morning? And think about what you've done throughout your day, because that forces me to like reflect in the moment on the day, which by the end of the day, you're like, oh, wow, yeah, that was a long day. I did a lot. We got a lot done. I had some fun, talked to some people. And so when thinking about it going by in a blink of an eye, like yes and no, I guess.
Yeah.
The long answer is like, I thought maybe we would be in a different place at this point, but looking at how much I've learned and grown, and now it's like 100% ownership instead of 50-50, that's a big difference. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious. I don't know what life would look like if I still had a partner. Probably still very different, but or a pandemic. That's insane, dude.
Yeah.
The last year has definitely flown by, though.
Do you think you appreciate things more?
Yeah, from when we started.
I mean, just
Just
in
in
general,
general?
even now with the pandemic and and over the course of that 5.5 years.
Yeah, I think so. I was kind of also talking to my wife about this again too. Is like, I tried the school thing for like 3 years, 4 years, never got a degree, switched my major like 5 times, did community college, like private schools, like blah, blah, blah. Worked a bunch of jobs in between. So I don't even really it was school, and I learned a lot of things through those opportunities and met people and did stuff, and it was all great. But like the first 4 years of starting a business, there is no path, right? Like you can't, it's not like med school where you start, or law school or whatever, where you start school, you come out with a degree, you can get a job in that field and then have a career. It's like I'm starting a business and there's no path. There is no clear path for this. You know what I mean?
You're fucking finding your lane.
That's
bro.
it.
Yeah, you
no
gotta
doubt.
find your fucking lane.
No doubt. And so I think thinking about the last 4 years is like, I've definitely learned to appreciate the learning moments. And I think another big thing is like people are always talking about like failures and stuff. And as cliche and corny as it sounds, like to me, failures do not exist. You come out stronger,
You
right?
just
Like
learn.
you learn.
Don't do that
Dude,
again.
Yeah, we had signed a lease up the street from us to do a record store. We were going to do a record store, and we were going to do records and pour overs.
Dope.
It was going to be super sick. And we had a couple art shows before we even opened, and we never ended up opening because I just couldn't swing it, between like time restrictions, money, et cetera, build out, inventory on a record store. Are you kidding me? You got to have a lot of records to even make it cool.
Fucking
It's a whole
hard.
thing.
Yeah.
I think this was probably before Steel Mill because that's a bit of their thing, right? Is
Yeah,
the
we have
record.
records and like records, motorcycles,
Right.
coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were gonna do something like that, and then it was like, this isn't gonna work, and that was like a humbling failure, if you will. But I'm like, nah, I just learned a lot, And it was the building we were in is the same landlord that we have. It was a different building up the street, and that even like strengthened our relationship, like tenant to landlord, and so he's kind of a mentor of mine as well, where it's like So there's things that come out of them. So I don't know. Yeah, thinking about the last 4 years, 5 years. I don't know. I definitely appreciate everything more. Yeah.
Yeah. I would have to agree. I mean, fuck, man. I don't know. Like, I think for me personally, like, after this pandemic, especially, like, you know, I went through, like I'd said, I'd gone through my divorce.
Yeah.
And I don't see that as a failure now anymore. I see that as a learning experience.
Right.
And the people that helped me get through that were my roommate Ray Ray and Leov.
Yeah.
And those two people to me like probably mean the most.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
they, in a really weird way, because like I came to a lot of conclusions on my own, but also through just them being who they are and kind of like teaching me, like, you know, you're never done learning.
No doubt.
And never.
Straight up.
And it's like,
dude, how boring would that be?
Dude, it's like, this is the thing that fucking gets me is that like, when I was in that relationship and I was like married and I've had a hard life, and I'm not saying like it was harder than like than most people's, but I've had a tough life.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, you go through a harder thing and a tougher thing, and then it's like there's always something more.
For sure.
But then there's people who show you how things are.
Yeah.
Or give you a different perspective. And because of that, I learned to appreciate like quality over quantity.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think no matter what, like I might, you know, like Ray has some people in his life that I don't really necessarily fuck with. And when I don't fuck with you, like, bro, I don't even fucking talk to you. Like, I'm not saying I don't even give a fuck. And that's just me.
For sure. Kind of going back to like, I don't got time for that.
I don't got time for that. It's
you're
like,
not
yo,
gonna,
I never used to believe like, oh, we're not the same and this shit. Like, nah, son, I've got to a point in my life, like, if I don't like you, we're not the same. We're cut from different cloth. I don't need to be mean to you, but I'm also not going to acknowledge you. I'm not going to fuck with you. I'll say hello, whatever, cool. But like, nah, son.
Yeah.
I fuck with this person. Yeah. You're whatever. Yeah. And then like, but my people, like who I consider my people is like, I'm ride or die. Loyal. I don't give a fuck. You don't need to even return the favor from me.
For sure.
This is just how I am towards you. And whether or not they reciprocate that, it doesn't even matter to me. But I think what I learned through this pandemic and like through starting my own business and doing these things is that like those people that are there, those people are the people that you need to stick around. Like when you know, when like you don't have shit and you're at your lowest points, and these people are the people who you're fucking with.
No doubt.
And they're there that like because they want to fuck with you. Those are the people you need to keep in your life because they're the real ones.
Shout out to my wife Hillary.
Yeah. You feel me? Like,
yeah, no,
that's even like, yo, like I just think like it's this whole thing, and not to like abuse this word, but it's like this whole thing has been a humbling experience for me.
Sure.
And it continues to be. Like, there's not a day that goes by that I don't appreciate the situation or the life that I have, because the people that I'm around have made it the life that I have.
Yeah.
I do my own thing and I grind and I do whatever. But at the end of the day, like I'll text, you know, my friends and I'll be like, hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Can I see my friend?
Yeah,
like, you know, and like, that'll be how my text is. Like,
yeah.
I want to see my friend. And like, you know, I'll go over to one of my friend's house and like, they're like, yo, I need to do this. I need to do this thing. It's like, yo, I just want to be around you. Like, I don't even need you. We don't even need to talk. You do your fucking work. I'll sit here. I'll play with the dogs. Or like, you know, we can chill and like,
just want to be around you.
I just want to be around you.
I feel that.
And that's like, I think more than anything that I can take away from this pandemic and starting your own business is at the end of the day, like, you can be busy as fuck and you can like keep doing all these things. But at the end of the day, it's like, you need to have something that like kind of brings you back to reality,
for sure,
in a sense that this is, you're not so wrapped up in it that it's like you forget about like, yo, there's still a life out there, you know.
I mean, I think part of it for me at least, like I always get grounded like coming home, right, to my wife and my dog and my cat, and like that's almost why we do it, right? It's like why we're hustling so hard is like we're trying to create this life for everybody around us and like just accentuate the good shit. Like, we got it good, dude. Living in sunny San Diego.
You're living in California. You're making it in California.
Bro, you went to the beach today after you dropped off an order.
Yeah.
Saw a wrestling match.
I saw two. I dropped off 2 orders. I went to the beach. I fucking went and saw a random wrestling match in PB.
Absolutely.
Like, walked up on that shit. It's like,
it's
what?
Unreal.
What the fuck happened?
You know what I mean?
But it's just
so
like,
sick.
Dude, that's another thing though. It's like, you grew up in California, so you know, but it's like, I have so many homies that like moved here for skateboarding.
Yeah.
From like Ohio or
for sure.
These states and this state, and they're just like, it's so fucking expensive here and this, that, and this, and it's like, bro, I grew up in the Bay
go
Area.
Back to Ohio.
Yeah, I grew up in the Bay Area, and then I moved to Southern California, and when I moved here like 13 years ago, it was cheaper than any other place in California.
Dude, I lived in North Park in 2009 when I graduated high school. And I paid $340 for a bedroom.
That's fucking ridiculous.
You know what I mean? With 2 roommates.
Stop it.
And I had my own room. $340, or maybe it was $344. But
dude,
so that means it was like $1,100
for a 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
So it's like it was cheaper back in the day.
Fuck?
But that's what I'm saying. Is like, I don't know. Like, at the end of the day, I think it's like, if this is all you've ever known when you grow up in it,
sure,
then you know what it takes to stay here.
Right.
Because it is the best. And I'm sorry for everybody around the world who listens to this podcast, but California is the fucking best. San Diego specifically.
Shout
and
out.
the Bay Area. But like, there's a reason I live in San Diego. And it is the best, bro. Like,
bro, so I went out the other night and my wife picked me up because I had too many drinks. And I was like, do you want to go? She's a teacher. And so she's on summer vacation right now.
Yeah.
And she's not drinking, but I was like, let's go to the beach. And it was like midnight on like a Tuesday.
Dope.
You know, and we like got burritos and went to the beach. You know what I mean? Like, that's incredible, dude. That's incredible.
Yeah, dude, okay, you want to hear a fucking California problem? Yeah. Okay, so I roast generally late at night at the roastery. Like, if I'm roasting for Steel Mill, I generally will go like 6 p.m. to like 9 or 10 p.m. And when I do those days, I still have to take the coffee back to Steel Mill in Oceanside. Right. So I'll get home here in North Park to about 11.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh,
tonight's
a Taco Bell day. And I don't eat fast food.
Right.
But if I eat fast food, it's Taco Bell.
Okay.
It just was.
Shout out Taco Bell.
Yeah, shout out Taco Bell. Sponsor me. Yeah. But this is last Thursday. I'm driving home, and it's like, it's 11 o'clock, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to Taco Bell. But because everything's fucking open now, I'm on El Cajon Boulevard, and the fucking Taco Bell has a line on El Cajon Boulevard going into the drive-thru.
Dude, and that's a big parking lot.
I was so pissed. In my car, I was like, fuck you people! Why are you at Taco Bell right now? And what did I do? I went to the only other 24-hour taco shop that I knew about, which is like right on University, and it's like actually a really good taco shop. Yeah. But I was like, I don't want this fucking burrito. I want Taco Bell. I could have probably gone to Taco Bell.
Tradition, dog.
Yeah, but it's
Dude, there really aren't any other Taco Bells
where's another Taco Bell in North Park?
There isn't. There's not one in South Park. There's not one is there one in Hillcrest?
I honestly
I don't know.
So it's like this is first world problem / San Diego problem.
Big time.
This is that bullshit.
You had to have like an authentic Mexican food taco shop experience instead of an international conglomerate.
I was so mad.
Yeah, no, that is a San Diego problem, dude.
Dude, I was so pissed. I'm like, I came home, I ate the burrito, and it was like, this is fucking whack. And I was like, I just wanted my fucking soft taco.
You literally could have probably got like a craft beer and a fat burger quicker than you did both of those things.
Dude,
you know
I know. I fucking know. God damn it. Okay.
Spoiled, dog.
All right. Well, we've done 2 hours and 9 minutes.
Oh, shit. No way.
Yes.
Well, it's been a pleasure, sir.
Dude. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we get out of here? We've touched on a lot.
Went through the history of Scrim, launching Field Trip, little Caffeine and Green, The Hustle.
Yep, The Hustle.
Some Imposter Syndrome.
Damn, we did.
A little personal
stories.
Growth.
Yep,
some stories growth. There, yeah.
Problems with authority.
Authority issues, just in general. Have you ever been arrested? Maybe
Dude, no.
Okay.
I've never been arrested. No, knock on wood. Shout out. I might be dumb and like lose my temper sometimes, but like I always kind of like shut up when I come to that.
yeah, right. Because you're humble, right? Yeah.
I've been humbled.
You've been humbled. Yeah. So that's been good. I mean, there's no more beer, so we should probably wrap it up.
All right. Well, Will, tell the people where they can find you.
All right, so Scrimshaw Coffee, located on Elgin Boulevard, 92115, San Diego, baby. And then Field Trip Coffee does not have a brick and mortar, just a website and an Instagram.
But you are serving Field Trip at
yes,
Scrimshaw.
Yeah. So that's Scrimshaw's exclusive roaster is Field Trip Coffee. For the time being, we want to bring back the multi-roaster thing. Yes. But then, fieldtripcoffee.com, at Field Trip Coffee. Where is it? Field Trip Coffee Roasters. At Field Trip Coffee Roasters, fieldtripcoffee.com. And then exclusively served at Scrimshaw Coffee for now.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Will, thank you so much for coming on the show, bro. And like, honestly, this was a pleasant surprise. I'm not trying to blow smoke. Like,
yeah.
We knew each other, but we didn't know each other. And I think
we got more in common than we both thought we did.
100%. That's what I was going to say. Like 100%. And, I always tell everybody this is, once you're on Caffeine and Green, this is not going to be the last time you're on Caffeine and Green.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Looking forward to coming back.
My G, I will definitely see you at the roastery, and I cannot wait to see you just flourish.
Holler. Likewise,
100%.
Sir. Believe it's going to happen, too.
Yes. All right, my G.
All right, dog.
Peace. Yes. Thank you so much, Will. That was such an amazing conversation. Like, what did I tell you, y'all? Like, yo, that... I love that conversation. Will is such a G, and we just related on so much more than I even thought, man. Like, just thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate you, bro. And guys, I just want to say thank you so much. It's been a couple weeks, but I just want to continue to thank every single person that continues to support Caffeine and Green around the world. Without y'all, I don't even know where I'd be. But thank you guys so much. And just if you guys haven't already, head on over to www.caffeineandgreenroasting.com. Pick up any of those bags of coffee, the Issa Blend, the Victory Lap, the Morning Sesh. Man, I appreciate y'all. And guys, please, I know things have opened up, but things are also closing back down. So please take care of each other, wear your mask, do whatever you need to do, and I will see y'all next week. Peace.